tonight to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant!
Judgment, Alfred.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinning.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Alfred.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and I see a lot of people in the chat tonight. Good to see everyone. Hey Joseph Rapp, good to see you. Twitch Andrea, yes, in my opinion, guilt, she says. I agree with that as well. I agree with guilt is the reason why the Proud Feet want to silence all of us, and that's the subject tonight. But it's so good to see all of you. Hey Cece, hey Tracy, good to see you. They don't want Sebastian found, in my opinion. Yeah, I believe that too. And we're going to get into some of that as well. They don't want him found. I don't believe that they care very much about finding Sebastian at this point. It's more about, you know, protecting themselves. And I wrote that down here kind of as a talking point for us to go over. So thank you so much, Tracy, for your comment. Hey, Tammy Carr, good to see you. thank you all for hitting the like button. Hey, Cinderella, good to see you, meow. And yes, AC/DC does rock. That's another thing I wanted to get into tonight. Money talks and who is actually talking about Sebastian, right? Because we've seen a lot of people kind of flipping over and again, worrying about, number one, worrying about, themselves and not about Sebastian. Hey, Ida, good to see you. Good to see you. So, no. No, and we don't want to stop, I think a lot of it has to do with um reputation. Of course, we have Mama Socks over there. I tried to get Terry in there as well. Crabtree, and then we have Clue and Cletus. I think it's cut out a little bit. I think you could see that beard. Um But either way, it's kind of, all of the people that were there supporting this cause. And I just feel like, in my opinion, Sebastian gets lost in the mix, which, again, most parents of a missing child would want their name out there as much as possible. Hey, Jude, good to see you. Hey, Maleficent, good to see you. So, they would want that, right? They wouldn't want to silence anybody, even if somebody, say, um, you know, had something to do in the past. You still wouldn't want to silence that person, right? Because if that person's just getting up and talking every night, they're not doing any harm, in my opinion. They're spreading awareness, if you will. So, it just brings me again to the question of, why do they want to silence that? Why do they want to take that away? Because most parents would be, trying to get that kind of coverage, because we all know that it does die down when a new case comes in. That's just natural, right? It's going to happen, because unfortunately there are many, many cold cases out there that never are solved, and people forget about them. Sometimes we might hear about them. One person that covers cold cases that I like is Derek Levasseur. He covers cold cases and goes over, their story. So I think it's really a positive thing to go over the cold cases, and we probably will here as well. But um, it just seems to me, because I know even back, I saw a screenshot on my phone from back in, I think it was around the 6 or 7 month mark when Sebastian was missing. And it was a thumbnail that said, "Has the case gone cold?" And when I see that, I just can't help but think that there's people out there that want it to go cold. Um, so thank you, Maleficent. Thanks for being here. Thank you all for being here, and welcome in, everybody. I know it's been a crazy couple of days. So I've been I told you guys I wanted to get that comparison video out, and it's just been crazy trying to take everything in, and just, understanding everything that's going on. It could be a bit much. Hey, James Cooper, good to see you. So, and I thought I saw a comment here. Terrell. Tracy says, "I know Seth really believes in LE, and I still have a bad feeling about Craddock. I feel he's he was paid off to get rid of camera footage, in my opinion." Yeah, Tracy, I, kind of bounce back and forth between whether I think Craddock is, if he's seen the light, so to speak, right? Or, if he is, kind of still in the same mind frame. It didn't seem that way, when I'm reading Dateline's accounts from the email that he sent, right? Because he didn't speak to Dateline directly. He did email them. But the verbiage, if it's transferred over, and, things get lost in translation. But if it is something, I mean, I don't know. He seemed to have said that he wasn't going to say whether he believes it's foul play or not this time. So that caught me off guard. He also said justice and truth. And so that also was different than what he was saying before. So, it just leads me to believe that I need to keep the faith still. But I understand that. I understand where you're coming from, because there is a lot of times where obviously where we're thinking of ideas, in our head and going over things, and then we go to that, kind of dark side of, is there corruption? It's hard. It's a hard thing. And especially when we have, some, arguably we would have some circumstantial evidence. Every area has it. Hey, Poppy Love, good to see you. Hey, Idaho Stephanie, good to see you. Nana's Dragonfly, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, it's so nice to see all of you guys. Hey, Shadow, good to see you. Um, yeah, Ida, I agree. She says, yes, hey Jude, love for his son. And that's the thing about Seth, is he's always just been very consistent and just wanting Sebastian to be found. It's pretty cut and dry. It really is. I think so, like you about Craddock. If it's CP or him, Craddock will choose himself. Yeah, Cinderella. I mean, I agree with that too, Tracy. That yeah. I mean, and I think now the heat is on. We were talking last night. Um, and I remember Poppy Love saying that, there's been a shift. It's good to see you, Poppy, too. But there's been kind of a shift too, as we're getting more time over time. And we were talking about that last night, time and pressure on the case. The billboards, putting pressure on different things, a lot of different things putting pressure on, even, the court cases and things like that. So we have a lot going on. A lot in the case going on. Hey, keep up the chatter. Good to see you. But that may have changed too, because he also, Craddock also mentions the community and making sure that he brings, resolve to the community, because it's got to be tough. And we were talking about that a little last night too, just how tough it has to be on the community. They're being turned upside down, and, your safety, so your guard's up. It's just not a good feeling. Thank you. Hey, Jude. Yeah. So, oh, you know what? Let me go look. Ida. Sorry, I might have skipped over it. My bad. I'm sorry. Let me look here. Oh, I found it here. Lady Freedom, did you watch Crime Time Buzz and what Seth had to say about CP? Yes. So I played it. I played that part previously on not last night's live, but the live before. And so I did it backwards. But yes, we heard it, and I want to kind of do like a little bit of a mashup. So I have a 1 and 2 part out of what Chris said, and then I wanted to add in, Seth's, because it'll make more sense that way, in my opinion. Because it's kind of seems odd if you just listen to them separately, or you just say, here's the parents of the missing child, because some people don't cover it as closely as we do. So I think it would be good to do that, and try to, thank you, keep up the chatter. James says, I was curious today about what could be done if it did not seem to be going anywhere, and possibly because CP's friends in the LE allegedly, it said that we would just have to go up and above LE. Well, we talked a little bit about a civil lawsuit, and I don't remember who brought it up, which is a good avenue to go if it does go stale, right? If the case is just kind of at a lull, it could be smart to do something like a civil action, right? Civil lawsuit, because all parties would have to be deposed in that situation. And then a good example would probably be like, with the Petito Schmitz. Sorry, I called them just the Petitos last time, and I realized that, so I apologize. It's Petito Schmitz families, because Gabby had step parents, and just, they were a good example of people coming together too, honestly. So I have to give them props there. But they did that to the Laundries because, the Laundries weren't talking, and they got a lawyer, I mean, quick, right away. As a matter of fact, when the police showed up to the house because Gabby's van was there, you know, they basically said, here's the lawyer. We're not talking to the police, which was, it's a move that we have the right to make, but it's also, suspicious. And then, sometimes it could make people think you're guilty, which we're not supposed to think that way, obviously. But the dark side is so dark. Keep up the chatter. It is. And it's sad because it's just, it's a lot of division, and I talked to a friend today about that, the division, and how it is, it's disheartening too, because, we can agree and not, and then we can disagree, because we're not always going to all agree with each other. So I don't think it's dark because of that. I think more or less it's, it's just getting to the point where it's very difficult to get help when there's so much drama surrounding the case that it's sick that people would rather worry about drama than they would about finding Sebastian. Oh, and James says to make a complaint out of all what was going on. Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like they have done that. I feel like they have. Tracy says I don't understand what I'm saying. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I missed something in the chat, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, are you buffering, CC? I got 5G. Poppy says what is with the judge yesterday that said he had to recuse himself because he was being threatened. We know that he didn't come from, no, we know it didn't come from Betty. No, that's a great point, Poppy Love. No. In my opinion, if it came from Betty, she would have been in trouble that day, right? They would have taken her to jail because it would have been a violation, right? And then she would have gotten in trouble. So no, in my opinion, and to my knowledge, that was not anything that had to do with Betty. I heard there was phone calls, a lot of phone calls that were coming into the judge. And I did, I do have the clip that I posted of court, so you guys can kind of see that and see what the local news had to say about it, because we didn't have that last time. And it's, it's interesting to kind of go over this court and what we see in this court date, versus what we heard in the last court date. Because I know that a lot of people were upset with me because I played Clue saying that Terry Lynn was in the court with them, but obviously we see them, see her in the court with them. So, and then I heard, some things with Molly Golightly. I think that's the way she says her name. But she is the one that's kind of sitting behind Chris over here. She had called in to one of the shows, I believe it was Jay is for Justice, and I listened a little bit about her perspective of the court. I am weird like that. I do listen to everybody's perspective, to kind of gather information and just kind of piece it together in my brain as well as I can, and that's kind of what I've been doing with some of this too. Yeah, me too. Keep up the chatter. Me too. So, but I'm glad that people don't think that I'm a liar, or like, that Clue is lying, because I was like, well, unless she's lying, you know what I mean? But she said it. She's sitting with, with them. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. It's just one of those things. Wrote Billy, but I haven't heard back. Oh, I don't know who that is, Tracy. Poppy Love probably hate channels from burner phone. Oh my goodness. Hey Jude. Oh Lord. Oh. Hey Jude is a great mod. James says I also looked up the YouTube's policies and could not believe all that was not to do with everything hate channels does, every one of them. Yeah, well, and it's difficult. Like if you can put up a complaint in about somebody, I mean, I'm just gonna say probably 9 times out of 10 it's not gonna go through. YouTube, you really have to do something bad. It's really got to be bad, right? You know, because I mean, we can swear on here. There's a lot of stuff. You know, I know that some of the thumbnails were pretty intense. You know, and of course, I think with any, you know, form of expression, it's okay to kind of cause a stir, right? I mean, that's kind of how I feel about the billboards as well. I feel like it's a form of expression to get people to think, to get people to understand. It's, you know, it's, you know, so that's what's hard for me, I guess, as a creator, because I try not to be like, well, they shouldn't be able to put that up there, you know, but some of it is pretty intense. I will say that. Yes. Aw, hey Jude, that's so sweet. Poppy is awesome. um, yeah, exactly. Keep up the chatter. We need to. She says that I want to keep the faith for Seth's sake. He needs us with green hearts. Yes, and I agree. I agree with that. I think that he needs us. I think that Sebastian needs us. I think he needs us to keep talking about different aspects of the case. Like I think it's good, even at 14 months, you know, to go back over and recomb over everything and recanvas everything. But it's very, very difficult in this case because there is so much swirling around, but then there's not a lot of evidence from the police. You know, that's why I like watching these news clips and showing them to you, because at least the news is getting some, you know, I mean, and not to say that mainstream media isn't all, you know, they're not the end all be all for, you know, but then again, like I said, that's why I also like to listen to who was there, you know, see what their perspective was. Hey Jude, that's for sure. And they do not enforce the anti-bullying. They did not see my campaign except for when they let me post it. The only people that saw it was in the review process. Oh no. They need to go watch the campaign, please. Oh no. Hey Jude says, CC, you might try clearing your YouTube cache. Oh, okay. See, I always forget to do that too. Hey Jude. By the way, hey Meg, good to see you. James says yes, and now CP is trying to get the billboards taken down, and it's not even his bio son, and not right too. And he says that I have not seen CP or KP's name on any of them anywhere. It's actually directed to them alone. Well, yeah, their names are not. Yeah, the names I haven't seen. I mean, obviously, like Katie knows the one that says Google it because she said that. You know, so I could see her putting that one together. You know, just, I mean, obviously, you know, but yeah, to my knowledge, there isn't any of them that have names on them particularly. Oh yes. Hey Jude, I do believe the billboards will stay up. You know, again, if somebody's paying for the billboards, or if there is an arrangement already pre-done for the billboards, then the billboards are going to stay up. I mean, money will get the billboards. You know, that's using the money for good, you know, in my opinion. I heard something about commercials on X, and I was kind of surprised about that. I was like, wow, I guess if they get the commercials out, that's pretty crazy. Oh, Poppy Love says, James, I think that I think they don't have people reporting them, that which is probably why. We're too nice, I guess. Just don't listen to them like they listen to others. Yeah, and just they don't agree with. Well, and I just think it's terrible to take down any of them. I mean, they can pay to put billboards up of whatever they would like to as well. You know what I'm saying? It's not it goes both ways. Hey, kitty catty, good to see you. Aw, Ida says keep up the chatter. Yes, Seth does. Hey, Playboys, good to see you. I was watering my roses and plants. Oh, cool, Mags. That's awesome. Hey, TJ, good to see you. Hey, Tony Fire, good to see you. Hey, Sasha. Sasha says, Meow says Crabtree. Sasha says probably because they did something horrible to Sebastian and they stand in front of the judge like she's a drill. Yeah. Well, in here I pulled some pictures in because I have the clip that I posted, but then I also pulled in some pictures today of kind of the courtroom and how people were situated. This is Judge Blanton. So to begin with, the judge recused himself. This is Judge Blanton, who presided over the case last time, right? The last time that they came up for the criminal case. And so he decided to recuse himself because he said he was getting a lot of phone calls. And then this is the new judge, and I don't know what her name is. I think it says it in the news clip, and I should have wrote it down. But she looks, like she doesn't have time for the nonsense. So I'm like, well, that looks like a good judge. And let's see here. I got one of Katie and Chris, walking up. And then there was one of Katie and Chris, and they're being sworn in, right? Because they did testify today. Or excuse me, yesterday. My bad. Chris sans mullet, didn't talk about a machete, did talk about how they were she's harassing me. And he always says on all the panels, which I just heard him say recently on a panel, that everybody can come after him if they want to come after him. Just don't go after Katie. So I'm confused as to why he was so adamant. And he didn't mention Katie. Here, I'll show you guys the news clip here. He didn't mention Katie. And I'm sorry, Django's over here snoring. He wanted to stay out here and he fell asleep.
Oh, baby, I like it raw. Wu-Tang Killer, the one killer bee, and he ain't for the kill now. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Talk that down, that's all around. Shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Give me the mic so I can take it away. This is when it gets serious. It's just raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw.
Was due to an increased fear because of the danger from threats, harassment, and as well as trespassing.
The family of a missing Sumner County teenager made their case today against a YouTuber who's been covering the case of Sebastian Rogers' disappearance. They claim Bullhorn Betty stalked and harassed their family despite orders of protection.
Yes, News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry was in court as a judge decided whether a criminal case against the YouTuber should move forward.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
For about an hour this afternoon, Katie and Chris Proudfoot testified against YouTuber Andra Griffin, also known as Bullhorn Betty, claiming she violated the terms of 3 order of protections.
Are you tagged in this video?
I am.
Is your full name tagged in this video?
It is.
She's reporting a bunch of lies. She's harassing me. Harassing my family.
Sebastian Rogers' case gained national attention from news outlets and social media users after he disappeared from his home in Hendersonville last year. Griffin, with her 38,000 subscribers, was one of those YouTubers covering the case.
Ms. Griffin has reported
I would say frequently, on the disappearance of your son, Sebastian. Is that right? Daily, sometimes multiple times a day.
Wow, Katie, most people would be grateful for that kind of coverage. Most people don't get that kind of coverage. How about a thank you?
In August, Sebastian's mom and step-grandparents were given an order of protection against the YouTuber after they say she stalked and harassed them. Griffin was then banned from having any contact with the family, directly or indirectly. But the Proudfoots told the court that same day Griffin violated the terms by talking about them in a YouTube live stream and including their names in hashtags.
After this case is said and done, I will be going after the Proudfoots and the Ballastops for damages.
Immediately, we showed our phones to Detective Bynes and said, look, it's already started.
The initial preliminary hearing today was cut short, with the judge saying he could not preside over the case due to threats. The hearing was then passed to a different judge who oversaw the case. Attorneys for both sides argued about intentions and what is included in the First Amendment.
If she didn't intend for Chris Proudfoot to view the video, why would you hashtag Chris Proudfoot? If she didn't intend for Miss Katie Proudfoot to view the video, why would you hashtag Katie Proudfoot?
It's up to Chris or Katie whether they go to search out the content that is hashtagged. You hashtag your content so that people can find it more easily when they search those particular names. Try again.
This is First Amendment protected speech. There has to be some action that will require that by Ms. Griffin to direct that to the petitioners. And the statute clearly says that it's only a violation if the defendant knowingly does that.
This case is moving to a grand jury on May 23rd. The order of protection is still in place for all parties, and the judge ruled that she can say the Proudfoots' names in her coverage, but will face consequences if she steps over the line of protected speech. Bob.
Sebastian Rogers is still missing. He's been missing for over 365 days. He's been missing for 14 months. I think people need to start focusing on Sebastian more. He's the one who's missing. What on God's green earth could be more important than that?
Hey, back off. You better get those tits out of my face, or I'll show you my tits. Working on my trash talk. You know, to get respect from the other inmates. If I see you around here again, I'm gonna put a hashtag on your ass and see how many hits it gets. I'm gonna make you my bitch's bitch. You're gonna be my grand bitch. Hope you brought your Costco card, because you're about to get dick in bulk.
This is so dark.
Okay, guys. All right. So, yeah, basically, Bullhorn Betty, went to court. Chris and Katie are saying that she was harassing and stalking them, but, and then trespassing. Whenever I watched Bullhorn Betty's live when she was putting up the flyers and everything, she never did, step foot on their property. So for them to say that she was trespassing was kind of a reach, in my opinion. She was definitely putting up flyers around the area. So that I mean, again, when you live far away from someone, it's kind of hard to go to their house all the time when you live in Florida and the other person lives in Tennessee, or vice versa. Let's see. They were sworn in for testimony, and it was an hour long, right? They talked about tagging. Now, I tag all three parents. Like, most of the time, if I tag the parents, it's going to be in a whole bunch of other tags too, like Sebastian Rogers, Justice for Sebastian, Sebastian's Army, let's see, Sebastian Strong, I do that one, and then I put the parents' names and stuff like that, and then I'll say like True Crime Community or Missing, or things like that. So basically what the tags do is, if somebody types in missing, or puts in hashtag missing, they can find all the missing content with that hashtag. It is not something that is typically used for malicious intent. Now, again, we talked about last night how people will send you stuff. People will send you things and you'll be like, oh wow, okay, this person said this, or what I mean. But you always have the choice to go look at it, right? I mean, golly, if I sat here all day and looked at everything everybody put out, it would drive me bonkers, right? I wouldn't have any time for anything. Certainly wouldn't have time for the cases that I want to talk about. Even the concepts within the cases, like Sebastian's, like I said, there's so many things that we could talk about. I mean, the list is pretty endless in my opinion. And Cinderella says they cannot be taken down. Also, in my opinion, parenting plan is null and void when the child is missing. Yeah, that's a really good point, Cinderella. I mean, we talked about that last night. With the parenting plan, it's basically when you have a child, right? And since Sebastian's missing, it's crazy to think that that would come into play. Also, you don't typically see long litigation for something like that. It's usually looked at as very petty, and most of the time the courts will say figure it out because I mean, honestly, again, it's just like don't click on the hashtag, don't click on the at. You can block it. Also, you can block those things. If somebody is putting tag, the little at symbol and then your name, you can always block that person so you won't ever see it. So that is a good way to protect yourself, Chris Proudfoot, and worry now about Sebastian because he's missing. But Sasha says, I can't believe how much weight they have put on. She snacks. Definitely no wonder Sebastian was sneaking them. Yeah, and I mean, they definitely. One thing about Katie's appearance, I will say, is that it looked like she put more effort into looking good for that court date than she did when she was on the news talking about Sebastian at a year. And I'll just leave it at that. That's just my opinion, Oh, Kitty Catty, I have it. It's my channel name, but no apostrophe at gmail.com. So Lady Freedoms Raw Narratives at gmail.com. And it should come up on the scroll too. I know those scrolls are so tiny too, though. Hey, Hall Monitor, good to see you. Ooh, 54 thumbs up. Thank you, Meg. Yay. That's wonderful. Thank you, guys. If we get to, I know we don't, it's kind of been crazy. So if we get to 100 likes, I'll do the party. I love doing the party. I keep forgetting about it. But yeah, I do think that they see that's another thing that we can explore that we see in other cases is using food as a weapon, or the idea of, unfortunately, restricting things. It's kind of a form of disgusting control that we see often in true crime cases. Did CP and KP have 2 attorneys? I don't know how many attorneys they have, actually, because I mean, I know that Chris has to have one for his case with Nina, right? The family law attorney. I know that Katie had retained an attorney. And then, of course, they have attorneys for the Bullhorn Betty situation. So I think they have many. I think they have probably a lot of attorneys on retainer at the moment, if I could guess, but I don't have like a clear number. I will say also, I was listening to a members only live. What was it, last night? And there was yet again another story that popped up that Chris and Katie had given Heather a PI. So, that's another thing that hopefully we can discuss a little bit more in the future. I would like to play a couple of clips of that and discuss it, because it's very odd, again, hearing another story, hearing one important thing I wanted to kind of just bring up from my perspective is I heard Katie on multiple occasions during this call, with Heather, the old PI, and Chris, her and Chris were on the other end of the call. It was very interesting because multiple times Katie came out and she was just completely rolling over what Chris had to say, and she was standing up for herself, and it was just absolutely a different side, and it was the side that we heard about from the teachers, right, at the parent teacher conference or parent teacher night, whichever one it was, or if it was a scheduled conference for the teachers, whatever, parents and teachers, whatever it was, we saw that Katie, in my opinion. And so I would love to talk about that at a later time. When I can show you what I mean, because otherwise it's, it just kind of seems like I'm just telling you. But if you could hear it for yourself, I think you'll see. It's also odd how Katie is very much either, I don't even want to say maybe a chameleon, but it's just weird how she can kind of change her personality around to kind of fit into whatever situation. I've noticed that, or we just see different sides of her, right? It's very interesting, so it's a good time for plants, though. I love plants. And Poppy Love says, James, I also wonder if they get away with more when uh, live, but might get flagged more for videos they leave up. Do they leave their live chats up after them, except the chat feed? Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. I always leave my chat up. Some people don't. I don't know. It's hard to say too with that. I don't know. I don't know particularly, because I know that there were a bunch of lives privated today because of kind of what's going on with BJ and her getting, the most horrible treatment, in my opinion, by Chris. Me too, Tammy. Tammy Carr says, I'll be so glad when Sebastian is found. And yes, and that's when we're going to have a relief. That's when we're going to have a relief, is when he's found. That's when everyone involved will have that. So, yes. Sorry, guys, if I'm behind in the chat. Hey, Lindsay, good to see you. Hall Monitor says, never saw KP have a braid like that until after Betty did it. Oh, just like I never saw Terry do it until after K9 Jules did it. But I saw KP did it to troll Betty. So weird. Ew, that is really weird, Hall Monitor. Oh my God, that is creepy. I don't understand that. Are you guys talking about that other judge? Probably. Hey, Christina. Yeah, I don't know why she said trespassing. I mean, that's what's weird to me, because, Betty was putting him on like the posts. Like, she was making sure she was just only putting him on the posts. It's not like she put one, in by their mailbox or something, or on their mailbox. I mean, obviously, I think that would probably be a federal offense, if I could guess, and probably be a big no-no. But no, it's not like she did anything like that. Megan L says, I don't think KP knows what trespassing means. It's just funny how she could really play that, part. And like I said, it's just it's very bizarre to kind of watch, because we've seen many, many sides of Katie. And, I'm not saying that I didn't believe the teacher's assessment of her behavior. I'm not saying that. But it's one of those things where you wanna believe it when you see it, kind of a thing, kind of a thing. Not to disparage anyone at all, but it's just it's odd when when you witness it for yourself. You're like, good Lord, yeah. Sasha says, I remember the machete, she said, for overgrowth, and then said maybe for protection. Who knows? Well, and see, that's the thing. It could be used for anything, right? I mean, it's just like anything else that you would bring into the woods. I mean, gosh, you could use a lot of things. Some people, carry, a pocket, you know, K with them around so they can, or whatever, box cutter, depending on what their profession is as well. So, I mean, that can be looked at like that as well. But I know that, going through the woods and stuff like that, it would be a useful tool. So I know, hall monitor, it's weird. It's weird because it's like they say these things and they're saying it, and here, let me just let me just pop this back up here real quick. Let's check this bad boy out real quick. This is Chris and Katie, and they are under oath up there, and they're being sworn in. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Boom, she's allowed to say their names. Exactly, hall monitor. That was the win. You know what I mean? That was the big win, in my opinion, because I think that she should be able to speak about Sebastian and his case. And the more, it's like a systematic, takedown of sorts. Not to give them too much credit, but I mean, come on. It just seems really weird that they go after all the creators that are trying to find Sebastian, even going so far as to lie in a court of law in front of all of us. It's kind of a joke. Like, I couldn't even with a straight face swear those people in. I just couldn't do it. I just, no way. There's no way. Tammy. Well, and it is comical. It is. Vonna says a hashtag is not the same as, an at. That's right. Yeah, or tag. Like a little, thank you. Thank you, Vonna. I appreciate you putting that in there. I'm like, the little, that really makes a lot of sense. I'm sure you guys really, got a lot out of that. Max says, are they trying to reduce attention to the case? I think so, Max. I really do. I think so, because it seems like they want to silence people. And so, we see them silencing people and attacking their personal character. We see them trying to silence people and saying, oh, well, you're not so perfect. Look at you. Well, of course, none of us are perfect. If one single one of us says that we're perfect, we're lying. She lied. We laughed. Sasha. That's funny. Yeah. Address. Thank you. Thank you, Cinderella. You guys. Thanks, guys. I'll pop that one up too. Yeah. Like you're addressing someone, right? But you can block that. You can block that. You can go into your YouTube settings and block that. So if you ever have people that are doing that to you, I should have put that in the bullying video, because you don't want to see that mess all the time. Like, it ruins your day. Of course it is. If you sit there and you just say, oh God, who's saying this about me? I mean, especially at this juncture. Look, when I decided to start going live instead of doing videos all the time, I, had a conversation with people that I'm close to, and I let them know that I was going to go live very soon, and that there's going to probably be a lot of controversy because I cover controversial topics. As a matter of fact, I like to seek out the more controversial topics that maybe other people might have overlooked, or maybe it's something that everybody's talking about it. But I think it's important to seek out those more kind of rough subjects. That way we can get down to more of the meat and potatoes of what's going on in the case, especially with it being 14 months in. I think that we have no other choice but then to dig deeper, right? And so, but then we have, the father of the missing child, who all he wants is to find his son. And then you have on the flip side, the stepfoot and mother, who seem to me that they don't want people talking, you know, they don't want people talking about Sebastian. And that's my opinion. Southern Soul True Crime says, I also agree. And what's crazier is judges and cops are standing behind this crap. Yeah, I wish it would have, I wish it would just be dropped, you know, really. I mean, at the end of the day, because again, you know, Bullhorn Betty goes back to Florida, right where she lives. She doesn't live in the area. I mean, this is just my take and my opinion, right? But she doesn't live in the area. She goes back to Florida, and she continues to talk about Sebastian's case, right? We can't forget, and I feel like the courts are kind of being a little bit disrespectful um, to Seth in a way, and you know, this is just again my opinion, but you know, this is somebody that he has asked, you know, to help him, and they're just like kind of trying to silence him. So right off the bat, there you're getting major contention, right? And I don't know why they're entertaining it. I agree. I agree. Southern Soul True Crimes, thank you for being here. Oh, Sasha. Yeah, absolutely. Playboys. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Watch the clips before BHB goes behind Terry's car and behind her first, in my opinion. Yeah. So Spirit Seeker Squad has a fantastic video on that. I pulled one of her videos in to one of mine before, right? Because she just has an awesome eye. She timestamps everything. You can see it all. So head over to Spirit Seeker Squad's channel and you can see where Terry Bowersox is circling her, right? Because she was kind of I won't say pulled over per se, because I think she was already parked, but it was more like the police officer kind of came up behind her and stopped her, and they were talking behind her vehicle, and you see him roll by, you know, and then she's again sitting there talking to her live audience, and he rolls by again. And so it's undeniable when it's on, you know, video like that. So thank you, Playboys, for saying that. Yeah. It is sick. It's so sick. It really is. It's so sick. James Coover, I just can't even believe it. Meg says, looking like she was a character from Little House on the Prairie. I know that hairstyle was, you know, very much, and very, like, I thought she looked nice. Like, that was the way that I would have thought she would have come up for Sebastian's, you know, year anniversary. I thought she would be coming up looking, you know, very nice and kind of more Stepford Wives or what do they call it? I don't know, but she did. She looked very much a lot nicer. I'll pop her up again here. But you know, you got the braid, you know what I mean? She looks really pretty, and the green kind of, I guess it would be more of like a turquoise color, but she's wearing green, right? Her hair is very nicely done, like, you know, combed and everything, because, you know, sometimes it's a little questionable in some of those interviews, you know, that we saw before. Oh, sorry, guys. Hey, Deanna, good to see you. Thank you, Hey Jude, for dropping Spirit Seeker's link. Oh gosh, it's just undeniable, guys. It really is. Absolutely, Hey Jude. Threatening a judge is a serious crime. It is, and she would have been, you know, reprimanded right away. Trust me, no doubt about it. You know, and I know we have to say allegedly in our opinions and stuff, but you know, it's just part of, you know, how it works. So. Yeah, federal crime in my understanding, yeah. Yeah, see that's a close up of, and I don't know who all else is in the gallery really. The only people I can really name, I'm not even sure who the lady kind of with the brown hair is. Maybe you guys can help me out. The one that's sitting next to Katie in the pew. Hey, Carla. Carla says, hey, Jude. Yes, it is. Hopefully they catch them and don't turn their back, because it's a of it, in my opinion. Yeah, and I mean, anybody that has anything to do with it should be in trouble. I mean, it just, even any knowledge of it at this point, 14 months in. Vanna says, I read an X post this afternoon that said that the FBI broke up, arrested a child T-ring, a group out of Hendersonville today. I will have to try and look it up to see. Oh, if it's true, that's really cool. That's good. I'm glad that they did that. That's good news. Thank you for sharing that, Vanna. That's really good news. And James says, what a joke when CP said that Seth and KP and himself have a parenting plan because he made it up, and that Seth needed to watch out before he ends up in court. But what he said to Seth is doing... break their parenting plan agreement. He has broke it himself, and we have witnessed it ourselves. And for another, where is Sebastian? Those are great points, James. CP causes CP because there's no child, no parent plan, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that too, James. I mean, if there's no parent, if there's no child, then how is a judge supposed to oversee that? There's no one to focus the best interests on, and that's exactly what they're doing in something like that. They're focusing in their efforts on the best interest of the child. So if there's no child, then there's no reason to focus any interest. The parents need to get their shit together, is what the court's going to say. Because basically the reason why they put that clause in there, or why they put a stipulation in, would be so that the child doesn't hear negative talk about either parent, right? But when there's no child to hear negative talk, I just hope this new judge does a good job, I don't know if that lady no, I don't think that was the purple hair lady. No, I don't think so. No, she didn't. She looked like she left the bar in interviews. Well, she looks very nice here. I will say that, Sasha. Completely different than, what she looked like, in the other interviews. I'll just say that. Like, more, more effort was put in, I guess I'll just say that. Hey, Microdot, who are the people sitting near them? Family? Well, see, in this one, there's this lady all the way over to the right. I don't know, but Chris and Katie, and then right behind them is Terry Lynn. And then on the other side of Chris there, all the way to the far left, is a YouTuber named Molly Go Lightly, I believe, right? So I apologize if I'm not saying her name right. No harm in that, or no malice meant, but either way, we have Mama Socks right there in this one. She's dressed in black wearing the necklace, right? Then right behind her is Clue, and then that's Cletus, and then the other lady still you can see, because this is down the pew, right? And then right next to Mama Socks is Terry Bauer Socks. And then right behind Terry Bauer Socks is Crabtree, which he kind of bears a resemblance to Clue. I never noticed it before, but just now I kind of noticed that. Either way, there's the old judge, right? And they were up there speaking with him. That's the Proud Feet's lawyers, the two of them, the lady with the red hair and the guy in the navy blue suit, right? And then Betty's lawyer is the one in the red tie. And Judge Ron Blanton recused himself. And this is the new judge. And they did not name her in the clip, but I like her hair. And then you have Chris and Katie, right? And they're walking up, and that's their attorney right there in the gray suit, and Chris is walking up. I mean, he has really gained a lot, especially from, like there was like a military picture that was floating around of him, and I was like, wow. So, I mean, and there's Katie again, and that's them getting sworn in. Katie on the stand. Chris. And then here's another one of like Cruella and, Papa Foot, Flying Monkey Sock Foot. And then you got Clue and Crabtree. So, yeah, and that was all on that side that I saw, and I don't, and I don't know that other YouTuber. I know that they like went out to lunch or something. I tried to listen to a little bit of kind of the backstory or whatever of what other people were saying, Oh, okay, hold on, guys. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Sorry. Hey, Rocco Love, good to see you. Yeah. Yeah, all of those people, it's crazy. Yeah, I just can't believe, like, that looks like Yellow Jacket. Which one, Carla? Oh, Chris getting balder. Hey, Jude. Oh, Lord. Sasha says if Bullhorn countersues and proves that KP lied, it's perjury. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have taken that into consideration if I was if I was BHB, because they can't sit there and say that she went and trespassed on their property when she never did. They just can't do that. And Playboy says parenting plan needs to be court ordered, so it's voided an attorney not present. Yeah, and it's just so irrelevant. Like it's like I think it was a major power play too for Chris to say like, "Oh yeah, I wrote the parenting plan." It was more like to say, "You're going by my rules, Seth." Right? It was very much pointed that way, in my opinion. It was like you've been playing by my rules this whole time, and basically flaunting that he was with Katie back then, in my opinion. You know? Yeah, exactly. I am too, Bear. Most of the time it means negative talk in front of the child. Exactly. Because if there's nobody to earmuff, I mean, we're all adults, so, we don't use the earmuffs, but, little ones do, and we don't want them hearing all that stuff. And neither do the courts, and that's why they'll put those little kind of stipulations or however you want to say it, clause or whatever in there. Nobody talks bad about either parent, and that they're never gonna. The one thing that I will say too with family court, they're not gonna put stipulations on one parent that they're not going to put on the other parent most of the time, right? They're gonna, unless the other parent, excuse me, is the problem, right? So obviously, if Sebastian was in the household and overhearing things and it was to his detriment, then they could possibly go to court and figure it out. But since he's not here, it's a moot point. It's just another and that's the thing, it's just another distraction. It's a really big distraction. And that was another thing that I witnessed too, is somebody calling into a show and distracted from the whole purpose of the show, which was really frustrating. And there was a few people in the chat that I was really, really proud of, and of course I'm not going to mention anybody, but it was like really cool to see people standing up and being like, "Hey, wait, we didn't watch the rest of this clip," like we were talking about Sebastian, this person calls in, they derail everything. And, it is, it's just, it's a distraction. We see them happening, all the time. And Cinderella says, I think the old man sitting in the back is the guy who was on camera at Hong's residence quite a while ago, allegedly, in my opinion. Okay, let me take a look and see. There's an old guy in the back. Oh, I see it. Is it the one? in this one with the white beard. That's weird that if that guy would be there though. You know? Kitty Catty says, is that Eric behind Katie? Or Erie behind Katie? I don't know. See, there's the one with the purple hair that we heard about the last time. So it looks like the same people probably were there that were there the last time, because there's the purple hair lady that you can kind of see. Yes, thank you, Meow. The purple hair person is Melissa. And then Sasha says, and I'm quite sure she's going to prove that KP lied. She was never threatened or harassed. No contact was made. So that's perjury. Well, and that's the thing, you know, Katie, to my knowledge, Bullhorn Betty never knocked on their door or anything like that, or asked them any questions, or saw them outside, or any of that. You know, we can all drive on public roads. We can all put signs up. That's, you know. I'll have a come over soon. Hey, Jude. Chris writing a parenting plan cracks me up. Hey, Jude. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. She's already been missing, so we would know she was gone, in my opinion. Well, that's true, James. Yes, Molly, she hates Betty. Oh, I see, Kitty Catty. Thank you. I didn't know that. Yeah, like I've never really, you know, watched her, so I didn't know. And then she was on, I think it was Jay, but he looks like he's going to have a little frontal patch of hair and go bald behind it. Oh no, I know, Vanna. That's why he didn't want to lose that mullet. I believe that, you know. Clue took the red eye. Hey, Jude. Cece says, I have never heard of Molly Golightly. Yeah, I had never really heard of her either. And then I kind of, you know, learned a little bit, because I was like, oh, she's a YouTuber. Okay, she's there covering it, you know, that sort of thing. So, oh my goodness. Oh gosh, Kitty Kitty. Sasha says more effort into Bullhorn Betty than Sebastian's interviews. Well, absolutely. And looking good. And then also, you know, I wanted to play a clip for you guys. It's not the whole entire, you know, conversation, but it's just a clip of Yeda, you know, basically, you know, protecting her family, the pedo relationship, you know, because people are talking about it and she's angry about it. And it's like she's more worried about that than about Sebastian being found, in my opinion, because honestly, you know, that's the whole reason that she came up onto, I believe it was Clue's panel that night. So I agree. It's just putting more effort into all of that rather than worrying about Sebastian. It's just wrong. Oh, okay. She got kicked off of YouTube quite a while ago. CC, now I think she's back. Some though. Okay. Oh, I see. I didn't know that. I am too bare. Thanks, guys. Oh, hey, Jude says Molly Golightly called Summer Wells a cash cow. Oh no. Oh my God. Poor baby. No, I don't understand that. I mean, I understand it, but oh my Lord. I don't know, Sasha, but I never noticed it in this picture right here. I'll show you guys. This one's even better than the one. It's like they're very, I mean, look how much they look alike. That is so weird to me. It's just very odd. I never noticed it before. No, TB is the one, James, that's in this picture. He's all the way to the right-hand side of your screen, sitting next to the mama. And now, again, you know, she looks very thin. She looks very thin, like everyone was saying last time, right? And then everybody, too, I was watching War Eagle, and they did a short on Chris, talking on, I think it was Queen Bee, about yelling at his mom, right? Because last time it was said that he had gotten into it with his mom. Well, he admitted that he did have words with his mom or whatever, but it was interesting because we hear him get up and start yelling at Yada, in this other interview here that I'm going to play in a second. So, but again, when I had pictures or posted pictures of Kathy, even the last court date, Mama Flying Monkey Socks, she looks different, welcome to everyone coming in. Yeah, Cletus. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Jude says, yeah, James Cooper, that is Cletus. Yeah, Cletus is the one that's all the way, that long beard. Thank you, hey, Jude. Oh my goodness, guys. Yes, the one that's kind of cut in half. No, he doesn't have a beard. He's the one that's clean cut. Terry Bauer Socks is all the way to the right. Yeah, Cinderella. I can see that. I can see he's in control, right? He's been controlling everything since Callie, allegedly, in my opinion. And he definitely wants us to believe that. I mean, that's very apparent. Playboy says Mama Socks lost a lot of weight. She's either under stress or a diet, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, a lot. Like it's very noticeable, right? Which, anytime you see that, sometimes, I do think stress too. That's a really good point, Playboys. I mean, it's like you either think, if somebody blows up, then it's, stress. If they, get all thin and stuff, you wonder, are you eating? You know what I mean? Are you getting enough to eat? Are you stressing? Because some people stress eat. Some people get to the point where they're so upset they can't eat, right? Or, they're so stressed. And James Cooper says the reason I ask is not until someone mentioned Yellow Jacket, that guy in Yellow Jacket looked like they could be related. Yeah, I mean, and people were asking about him the last time when we were talking about Yellow Jacket, Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom, good to see you. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, long dark beard, Cletus. Sasha says they just made a huge mistake, and I think they are realizing they did. Yep, the table's gonna turn. Oh, why? Because of lying, as usual. Yeah, well, that's always the common theme, right? Is the lies that we hear from, you know, the proud feet, and just going over, everything, we hear the lies. Like I said, the phone call, it was like a whole nother story, and then Chris interrupting, and oh, let me tell you, it just, it's insane. It's insane. I hear a band. Hey, Jude says I hear banjo music with that row. That was a row. Like, I just showed it, like, this is where everybody was kind of sitting. I just wanted to kind of show you guys, because I know that news clip is kind of fast, I hear the banjo. Oh. Oh my God, that's so funny. That is so funny. It's far too much lying, in my opinion. Cece. Oh my goodness. Oh, so Cletus is another creator's fiance or husband. I mean, basically they live together and all that. So husband, pretty much. His name being passed around. Yeah, you'll hear him sometimes on Cluminati's channel. Like, I don't think he ever, like, comes up and sits next to her. So it's not like, how other creators, they'll have, the bubbles and stuff. He doesn't come up on his own bubble or anything. He just, like, sits back there and talks. Hey, Show Poodles, good to see you. Deanna Downey says, I think Mama Boom Boom is taking Ozempic, in my opinion. Ozempic does, I mean, it causes people to lose weight who are diabetic and things like that. So maybe, and then also I heard people that are not supposed to take it. It helps with the weight loss too, or whatever. Or, not that they, I guess maybe more or less it's not something they would need to take for the diabetes, and Carla says the guy I'm talking about it in the center to the back, you can just see from his glasses to the top of his head. Okay, glasses to the top of his head. Glasses to the top of his head. Oh, there's another better picture of Chris's sister. Oh, sorry, guys. Let me see. Oh, no, it's not going to be in that one. Sorry. Maybe I'm missing this one. I'm not sure which picture. Yeah, that was the one, and we heard the purple-haired person being described last time too. So I mean, there's a lot of things that were described last time that we're seeing this time too, Ozempic face, Google it, y'all. Oh my goodness, perfectly imperfect boy. Mom says, in my opinion, Mama Dirty Socks has Edmonds has Ozempic face. Google it, y'all. Oh my goodness. That's funny. I'm guessing it very well could be, it very well could be. In my opinion, CP's button don't do up too tight. In my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that, Playboys. I do. Showpoodle says, I will not say one of them looks like the town barfly. Okay, I said that, but I will not say which one, in my opinion. Well, and yeah, I think I know which one. I think I know which one. James says, and the guy a couple seats over to his left are right. That is SF, right? No, SF wasn't there to my knowledge. But I could be wrong. If you guys know different, let me know. Hey, Bethleg. Bethleg says, in my opinion, they look like the Brady Bunch has. Did I miss part of that comment? The broke down Brady Bunch. I am Two Bear says, Molly, JLR buddy, and Olivia used to all be buddies and doing cases. Oh, okay. I love watching Chronicles of Olivia. I really enjoy her content. Okay. Yeah, it's good when you can team up with people, it's not always a bad thing. Um, hey Jude, show poodles, oh snap. Kitty Catty says she wore the braid to troll Molly. That is so weird. That is so weird. I don't understand that. I mean, I get it, but it's Southern Soul True Crime says, go to the very back and look at the young lady in her eyes. Oh man, look at the very back. I'm not sure which ones you guys are talking about. See, I don't know who all those people in the back gallery are. I don't. Oh, I keep going to that one. Molly went overboard with the lip line or with the lip filler. Yeah, well, I thought she was on a reality TV show or something too. The Molly person. Oh, hey, June, no go on Molly, huh? Hey, Holly S, good to see you. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Purple hair represents attraction to multiple genders. Apparently, that's how people know. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Huh. That's weird. Oh, poor Kitty Catty says, poor Seth and Britt after court today. Britt didn't even go live. She hasn't. Oh, man. Well, let her have a break. What I do too is, I mean, I will go to the pool. I will have a good time. Like, I'm not going to let anybody like ruin my life or anything. So I hope they had a good day, um, don't let people hurt you like that. 'Cause yeah, but Breaks are good too, though, because it puts things into perspective, and you're able to like listen to more stuff and find more things out. You kind of research more. That's what I do. So, hey, Ava. Microdoc says Molly Golightly was around way back when Summer went missing. Yeah, that really makes me sad to hear that somebody would call her a cash cow like that, though, because I think I have Summer in here still. I mean, look at her. Look at that beautiful little girl. She's just so gorgeous, and it's just so sad. She's still missing. Don't know where she is. Missing in Tennessee. The parents are, we were calling it, Summer Wells 2.0 with the way they were acting. I had a background up before when we were doing Summer's comparisons, and we still have more to talk about there. But this was kind of the question I asked for that night was, did Chris and Katie take from Don and Candace's playbook, but yeah, and that's little Summer, that's their daughter. So that's Don and Candace, Chris and Katie, and little Summer, it's just sad. It's very sad, and, a lot of nonsense, a lot of fuckery, a lot of this same bull shit that's happening. Hey, couponing, good to see you. Crabtree gained weight as well, Kitty Catty. I agree. I agree with that. I mean, hey, we all do, unless somebody's got a real high metabolism, oh gosh, I wish Sasha, Yeah, I don't think SF, I think SF recused himself. I don't know, I'm for sure, but it's a wild guess, Um, Southern Soul True Crime says, over Miss Terry, LOL. I'm sad about her and so disappointed. Yeah, me too. I am too. And I've kind of talked about a lot of it, a lot of things that I would have never believed if somebody told me. A lot of things in hindsight make more sense now. I will say that. But there was a really powerful post from War Eagle, and I reposted it on my channel. So definitely go take a look at that in my community posts. I try to post there if I'm not going to go live, or if there's some controversial things that I don't really think that I might not bring up on the show, but I want to show something. I will post it there, so definitely check it out. Sometimes it's dull, sometimes it's not. I try to also post missing posters there of other children and silver alerts, anybody that's missing. But I did repost War Eagle's comment, and I feel very strongly about what they have posted and what they have said. And it's a lot. It's a lot for people who, a lot of us feel like it was a slap in the face. So I just have to go with that, because like I said before, that was a community that I felt comfortable in and safe, and thought it was a great environment, and finding out kind of, a fall from grace, if you will, it feels like a slap in the face. So I understand that, Southern Soul True Crimes. Thank you for, sharing that, because, I took a lot, I had more time to process through things, because it started happening in February for all of the craziness and some the things, the anti-bullying video and things that I put out. But all of that kind of, I knew back then that this was going to happen, and I just kind of processed it through it and wasn't going to say anything until it finally did happen. And then when I heard Clue talking about it, and I was like, well, why would she have a reason to lie about that? That doesn't seem like a reason to lie about it, right? And I played it, and I was really blown away by how much like people were like, why are you saying that about? And I was like, I didn't. It was Clue that said it, and she was at court. Like, it was very strange. So yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that I found out and I wasn't involved since February. I'll just say that. But I'm sorry for anybody who's had to deal with it, because I feel like a lot of the community members from Terry Lynn's are my friends, you know, even though maybe some of them, you know, don't want to believe it. I understand that. I didn't want to believe it either. But it is what it is, you know. So, Cinderella, I'll tell you, mama sucks. I am T Bear says purple hair means purple hair, nothing more. That's what I was thinking. I mean, I was like, I didn't know that. You know, my hair's got like a blue tint to it. I don't know if you guys could like tell or anything, because it's kind of, you know, whatever, but I hope that doesn't mean anything that I'm not wanting. Mine doesn't mean anything. So I am T Bear. Thank you for your comment. That's funny. Um, you think they're bar hopping, Sasha? Shapoodle says, I didn't know it was possible for one city to have so many shady people, in my opinion, of course. I will, you know, Shapoodles, that's a good point. I mean, sometimes it's kind of unbelievable where we're like, what in the world is going on here? Like, I don't understand it. And it's like, it's hard to believe that it wasn't always like this, right? Like, it's leading me to believe that they were always all friends. Like, you know, I'm trying not to, you know, every time the tinfoil hat tries to float over and I push it away. But I'm kind of like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, did I miss something? But obviously I did. Um, See, I don't think he does, James. I don't think he looks like Yellow Jacket. No. No, I don't. I don't. I wish I knew who Yellow Jacket was. Yeah. You guys are gonna get me on Yellow Jacket again. I mean, I have pictures of him up here if anybody wants to see him. I have them in the, you know, in the queue up here. Um, Carla says the whole side is some kind of ugly. I've never seen so many ugly people all together. Yeah, well, and it's not even about the outward appearance. You know, for me, it's more like the inside that matters. You know, and we just see like, you know, just the blatant lies. Right? Is bothersome. It really does bother me. But then also, it just you know, it's fueled by like a hatred too. And then we all know that Chris is not a victim. We all know that, you know. Um, it's just very apparent. So Cece thinks it's Ozempic too. Yeah. Oh yeah, I hope she's not sick. Yeah, yeah, I hope she's not sick. Um, you know, it's kind of odd that though, going back to an office job, if in fact that she went just back to the office and is just like taking calls or doing whatever office work, you know, maybe managing a team and stuff like that for the realtors. You know, when you're out in the field, you're running around all the time. So it's kind of weird, like her going back to the office and losing a bunch of weight. I will, you know, just throw that out there. Beth Lake says, am I blind? It looks like Chris has hair only in the middle of his forehead. Well, I mean, hold on. Let me show you. Oh boy. It kind of looks like it. He has like he's kind of got like a little bit of a mohawk. He's got like a mohawk going because it's like right here. It starts, and then it's bald over here. I don't know what he's got going on. Poor Chris, he can't get his hair right for nothing. I mean, like, I don't know. With a head like that, Bullhorn Betty's the least of your worries, buddy. Oh my goodness. from the side view, it's kind of funnier. I don't know what's funnier. Oh, Lord. Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Well, that's not very nice. Okay. But gee whiz. I can't believe it goes all the way down, you know? See, I was kind of trying to put that on over the forehead of Katie and Chris, and I ended up covering that up. That's funny, though. That is funny. You're not blind. Am I seeing bald spots here? But there's a massive bald spot. Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. Um, Sasha says, I'm just collecting information for a year on Sebastian and the people around him. I'm ready to make arrests. I know yeah, I agree. Well, and that brings me to this. Let's watch this like brief little clip, right? This is Clue. And she's got Yada that called in. It's just like a little excerpt, right, from it. But I kind of wanted to show you kind of how Chris comes in a little hot, right? We're not going to listen to all of it. But then also kind of the beginning, right, of like kind of Granny and, her being like, hey, Yada, can you hit me up? And then, exchanging emails and stuff like that. So here we go.
Miss Yada, would you be willing to send me those emails?
I think at the time it was exhibit.
Somebody has to mute their YouTube.
As whoever you just let up has YouTube playing.
Would you be willing to?
I'd appreciate that, Miss Yada. I think they may come in use. Thank you. I can write my email down for you, or
Clue has my email.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind being the exchange there, Clue. I think they're very necessary.
Whoa, I have whose email?
I sent you an email yesterday.
Oh,
Clue doesn't check her emails.
Either do I. That's so funny.
She's
make sure you got it, because I'm going to need that. If you wouldn't mind checking if you got her email, just so we can be sure.
Oh.
It'd be the easiest way to go about things.
Yeah, I have it.
Thank you.
And
I'm sorry that you were intimidated, Miss Yada.
Well, they keep talking about threats and fear, and the only time the only people that have really put me in true fear were them.
It's ironically what the tacos reported back too. So you've never been threatened or fearful of me, have you?
No.
No, you probably don't even know who I am.
No. The only I didn't even know your name until it was like in the injunction. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And what'd she do?
Nothing.
And then this whole cycle came around again the other day when Betty did this whole rant about Francis and, Katie bringing Sebastian to the funeral, which, by the way, there was always 30 to 40 people coming and going to my aunt's house. My aunt, which Sean had always respected. And yes, Francis was there. It was her father. But my cousin and his wife stayed the night over there for the funeral too. And by no means would my Aunt Suzanne ever put Sebastian in a position of in harm's way, ever. And he knows that. And when Beth gets here, I'm trying to confirm this whole welfare check call. If he did that, it was for spite. Because he knows that Sebastian would have been with his great-grandma Suzanne.
Have you and your family been visited by the police?
Nobody ever once mentioned to me anything about him doing that. And I've talked to him a few times, and he knew I was at the funeral. And he never once mentioned anything about him having to do a welfare check. There was no written agreement that Sebastian couldn't be anywhere near his grandmother. I mean, he just didn't want her near him, which I wouldn't want her left alone with him but he was there with his great grandma.
So the rumor about Sebastian being left with Katie's mother, you find to be untrue?
There's no way.
Thank you.
Katie would not do that.
That's important.
No way in hell.
I don't want to call out the elephant in the room, but is this like Chris on panel?
You know it.
Another one.
Oh.
And I've been listening the whole time. Good afternoon, Miss Yada. How are you?
I'm fine.
Well, I'm not so fine with you right now, to be honest with you.
That's fine.
Because I have not had the pleasures of ever seeing you face to face. And after speaking with your family, we won't ever see face to face.
Oh my God!
I don't appreciate you opening your mouth and inserting yourself into a situation you got no business being in. No,
I'm just here clearing up some lies
no,
that
you're
have
not
been said
clearing
about
up the air,
Katie and her
ma'am.
mom.
No, you're not. You're not clearing up anything. All you're doing is jumping from panel to person to person and getting yourself involved in something you don't need to be involved in. You really
I have
don't.
not. Okay, whatever.
Ma'am,
Clue,
do
if you have any more
honestly think
questions.
that the videos out there aren't still out there?
Maybe hear him out, you know?
Oh, I know what he's
That's
talking
fair.
about, but what I'm saying is I've heard so many lies that I'm trying to clear them up, and they're
Right,
bashing
so-
Katie
so-
about being
so hear
around
me
her
out for a minute.
mom.
So hear me
Yada,
out
hear
for a
him
minute.
out.
Okay? Maybe you wouldn't have to clear up some lies if you didn't get involved. That's what I'm getting at. You inserted yourself into something you're not a part of. You haven't seen Katie since that funeral. You really haven't. You have not been a part of Katie's life. You have no involvement with Sebastian, with Seth, with me, my wife, any part of that family. You don't. But you have inserted yourself for no good reasons. Now, when was the last time you spoke with your whole family? Let me ask you that question.
With all of them combined, it's
Good
been a long
proportion.
time.
Exactly. There's a reason for that, ma'am. A real good reason for that.
Okay, guys. So that was, Chris yelling at Yada, coming up on the panel, kind of sneaky like on Yada. But so Yada was saying how she was afraid of at night, and she said that they busted in one of her family members' doors, right? But then Chris hopped up on a panel after that and said that that wasn't true and that that was false, right? So Yada didn't like her family being talked about. So in my opinion, it all boiled down to the fact that Yada doesn't want anybody talking about Francis, right? Because Yada says that basically BHB was talking about Francis. And let me pull up. I believe I still have that overlay. So give me just 1 second. So that's Francis. That's her mom. Those are, the reasons why, in my opinion, a well check needed to be done. But Yada hops up on this panel and she's furious about Francis being talked about. And she goes into the funeral where Sebastian was with 30 people or whatever. But that's not what Seth was talking about. Seth was talking about how Sebastian was left with Francis in the house while Katie went to eat with her dad, and that he did a well check because he did not appreciate that, because her mother, as you can see, is not supposed to be around children, right? So again, it's like they did something wrong and then they're blaming it on Seth when Seth did the right thing, in my opinion. So Katie goes to eat with her dad. She leaves Sebastian allegedly with her Sebastian's great grandmother, Suzanne, and his grandmother, Frances, who is a registered SO and who should never have any contact with children at all, period. So it doesn't matter if there were 50 people in the room or whatever. She shouldn't have been in the room with children, period. Right? And so she says that Suzanne would not put Sebastian in danger. And, you know, I will say that I can believe that, right? We're not saying that. What we're saying is that Sebastian wasn't supposed to be around Francis. So then she said that Seth called out of spite. And I don't think that's fair at all. I don't think that's fair at all. I think that Seth called because he was alarmed and he was worried about his son. It wasn't about the fact that Sebastian was with great grandma Suzanne, because she says, oh, she calls Seth Sean disrespectfully, in my opinion, and then says that he was okay with great grandma Suzanne. Well, of course he was. He doesn't have any reason not to be. She's not legally bound to stay away from children, right? But Francis is. And so just because he did a well check, she's saying that, you know, that upset her, right? But just because he didn't say it to Yada, right, which Seth probably didn't say it to her. I'm not sure if he did or didn't. But just because he didn't tell her about the well check doesn't mean it didn't happen. But Yada's just all upset, like, he never mentioned that to me. Well, of course, maybe he didn't feel that it was necessary to mention that to you. Maybe he didn't want to upset you. Maybe it was something that, you know, he wasn't going to put out there, and maybe he was pushed to do so. I don't know. But either way, it's very plain to see that a well check needed to be done, because Katie left her son with a registered SO, in my opinion. Right? So Yada denies that KK would ever leave Sebastian in that situation, although I don't believe her. And then again, even Katie's family cares more about protecting themselves and Francis than they do finding Sebastian. And I have a problem with that, because I know that Chris hops on and he's pretty ticked off, you know, he's pretty ticked off. And he says, when he hops up on panel, he accuses Yada of panel hopping and involving herself where she doesn't belong. And then Yada says, you know, basically that, you know, she says whatever to him, like, you know, whatever, Chris, she's going to hop off the panel because she's trying to get off of there. But in my opinion, I have to say that, you know, I think that she was up there to protect herself and her family, and not worry about Sebastian, because really he was the one that was put in danger. And then, you know, of course, Chris goes on and on about how she hasn't seen Katie since that funeral. And that's exactly what Yada told BHB. So she didn't get up there and tell anybody that her and Katie talk regularly. She said she hasn't seen her since the funeral. So again, just very odd behavior and things that, you know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It just really doesn't, you know. And then we hear the next day, hey, Seth, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. Hey, Brenda Calvert, good to see you. And hello, everybody coming in. I'm sorry, I get to talking and I don't realize who is all coming in. Oh, very true. Perfectly imperfect boy, mom. The stress of guilty conscience can make your hair fall out too. Right. And it's indiscriminate, you know, obviously. No, that's terrible. I'd be horrified. Hey, Holly S. Holly S says, I'd be horrified if I found out my kid was at home with a registered sex. Yes, exactly. I'd call 911 immediately. I mean, you know, it's a no-brainer to most of us. It would be like, you know, you'd probably be in shock at first, because you would think, well, why would the other parent put our child in danger? And then you would react by calling the law. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. Any parent should call the police. It's against the law. Absolutely. Megan L says he was protecting his child, which is what a real parent does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, and that's what any good parent would do, call for a welfare check. Right. And if it was spiteful, he would have pressed charges. I could be wrong, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, he could have, enforced and really, put the hammer down. But instead, he just made sure that Sebastian was in a safe place, that he wasn't around that person, right? Go into the other room, watch TV, approached it in a calm situation. Sebastian probably knew that he wasn't supposed to be, that's just my guess. But Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, and that's what, sorry, I read that one. Robini says, they don't get to decide if it's okay or not. Exactly. And they don't get to decide if we talk about it or not. Honestly, I think it's important to talk about, and especially show how it can be so relaxed, or, oh, that's no big deal, or I'm going to get up here and start trouble. And this was before court the last time. This was even going back, the night before court last time. Just always stirring the pot, always causing trouble. Southern Soul True Crime says, I agree. And Sasha said he's going to lose his cookies because he didn't expect this. Well, and he said he didn't expect it. And Seth says, I can't say that. Look at what she allowed her own daughter to do to her granddaughter. Well, and that is exactly right. That is exactly right. And you just don't know. And when somebody makes a bad judgment call like that, you have to make sure that you are protecting the child, right? That's what it's really a no-brainer. I don't understand why they don't see it that way. Hey, cuckoo. So this was after California. He's already been assaulted in the place with a 5-alarm SO. Well, this was prior to that, and Seth can probably clarify, but this was, to my knowledge, prior to that. Katie's grandfather, Don, had passed away, and that's the funeral that we're all talking about, that they were attending, and that was the reason for the trip there. But then sometime after the funeral, it's alleged that Katie had went to dinner with her dad and left Sebastian with Grandma Susan, who was, Grandpa Don's wife. So she, and then Frances, who is Katie's mom, who is the RSO. So yeah, it wasn't after, but it was after the incident that Katie had already endured, leaving that same person around Sebastian. It's just, if anything, it was a very, very misguided mistake, right? I'm not saying there was, I'm not saying I know the intention behind it. That's not what I'm trying to say. I think it's just important to understand that was a really, really bad judgment call, right? And it's just important to know that it could be a pattern of really, really bad judgment calls. So I think it's important to discuss it. And especially when people want to get up there and, like Yada, and from my opinion and my kind of assessment of the whole, situation and why she would have gone up there and done that in the first place, was to protect, I didn't like the way BHB was talking about, our family like that, so I think that was the motivation, you know what I mean? Yeah, Polly's cookies. Exactly. Show Poodle says he was bent because Yada spoke to Betty, in my opinion. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and just why would she hop up there? That's right. That's right, Seth. I don't report to anyone but God. Exactly. And that's who we have to look to guide, to God for guidance as well. I mean, I think that is, exactly what we would I think that's what he would want to be done. Protect the children, right? Protect the child. Don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about what they're going to think or say, or, oh, that was spiteful, whatever. You could say it's spiteful all day. But honestly, it's about protecting Sebastian at that point. And and you just always got to advocate for your children. Sebastian, at that point, most kids at that age are not going to kind of go against what their parents, you know, they're going to go with what their parents do. And if their parent makes a bad judgment call and puts them in danger, the other parent has to step in at that point. And it's not something you want to do ever. You just don't. You don't ever want to have to do it. Southern Soul True Crime says people don't just start being predators. Something happens to her. Something happened to her also. So it is a whole family of predators. It's important to know. Yeah, I think that's very important to note that, as I do too. I find that to be very important because there's a lot more going on as well, other than just one person in the family. And then also just like that generational trauma. So I think it's very important. Thank you. Hey, Jude. Holly S is exactly, yep, exactly, Seth, is what I thought. Plus, she must be like 100 by now. Not like she can protect anyone. Well, and it's just like, I mean, golly, you got to go to the bathroom at some point. You know what I mean? You got to go to the bathroom at some point, and then there's a child in the house with somebody who's not allowed to be around kids. It's just, anything can happen. And the thing about predators, True Crime, thank you for saying that too, is that they look for opportunities, any type of an opportunity that they can find to harm the children. So it's like, I mean, they could even be taking pictures on the sly. Like, there's so many things that could be happening that could be putting that child in danger, just exposing them to somebody that disgusting. It's something to talk about, because look, if there's other people out there that think, oh, this is no big deal, like, why would this be a big deal? It's important to discuss why it's not a good, idea. Maybe somebody who was thinking previously, "Oh, okay, well, if there's other chaperones in the house, it's not a big deal." But then they listen to our conversation, they think, "Oh yeah, that's probably why it's not a good idea, because those people could be doing things that other people don't even know that is happening," right? And it's always, well, statistically, it's the people that are the closest that have the access to an individual that makes it so it's the person that they know, right? Because they have that access. So that's the most important thing to remember here, I think, is that even giving the predator any type of access is not okay, even over the phone. That was another thing that people were upset about and talking about, was Katie allowing Sebastian to even do like a FaceTime, right? Or heaven forbid, too little Faith was there, right? You just think about these things because there's kids around. So it's like, I hope that she wasn't doing that, or they weren't giving the grandmother access to these kids via video, because I'm here to tell you, these people are so sick that is something that can be used and exploited of the children. They're sick. There's something wrong with these people. They're predators, as our friend Southern True Crime says. Yes. I mean, doesn't matter how much anger management. There's not enough anger management in the world. Hey, Suzanne, good to see you. Seth says, hey, thank you, Poppy Love. I'm sorry, Poppy, if I missed over your conversation or your thought there. Hey, Seth. And Holly says, Yada didn't even seem to realize there are actually laws against that. Well, and that's the thing. I understand how you would want to stick up for your family, right? I mean, nobody likes to see their family being talked about. Or maybe there were some things where she thought, well, I don't want them saying that, or something like that. That's understandable. But the fact of the matter is that we do have Sebastian missing 14 months. These are the things that we're going to discuss. I mean, it's just going to, again, there's no bad intent behind it. I'm not saying Yada's a bad person. Like you said, I really believe that, Holly S, that she probably thinks it's okay, and she might not understand why it's not okay. But that doesn't mean that we should be quiet about it, because obviously there needs to be some understanding brought to this. Why is this wrong? Well, this is why it's wrong, but I think she knows that. I think it's just more of a motivation that she just doesn't want people talking about her family members, which again just bothers me, because what about Sebastian? If we stop talking about these subjects, then who's talking about Sebastian? These are subjects pertaining to his case. It's not to be mean, or I'm not telling you guys to go off and be mean to Francis or anything like that. Don't be mean to Katie over it. Don't do anything like that. But discussing it is important. That we have to do it. It's just something that, and none of us like to talk about. The subject is the one that pisses me off the most. It's just, to me, it's completely vile, and it's just a subject that you don't think that you're going to find yourself over explaining why this is wrong, but nevertheless, here we are. And Polly says, oh, sorry, Polly's. I missed a part. I'm sorry about that. Let me see if I can go back up. Oh, snap. I think I lost it. Yeah, okay, so Polly, I kind of get the gist of what you're saying, though. So you're saying, yeah, normalizing it, this is allowing children to be around family registered, yes, RSOs. Yeah, it's minimizing the behavior. It's minimizing what the judge has in place, right? Like what they've put on, what the stipulations that they've put on this person, right? Because there was a judge that said, hey, look, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to, ever be around kids. And it's minimizing what the judge has put into place, which is, again, if it was spite, I think there could have been a lot more done in that regard, but it was more or less make sure that the child is okay. And that's what we all should do. That is a good example to, of what we should do if that ever happens, right? Because it's not like Katie's the only one that's ever made a bad judgment call. Hello. I mean, hey, Deborah, good to see you. I would have lost my mind. Me too. I would have been pretty hot, but I will say, guys, too, the more calm you can stay in the situation, the better. Even though, nobody knows how they're going to react, sometimes you can't control how you react to a certain extent. I mean, sometimes you might be, upset and things, but it is good to stay calm, especially so you could tell the authorities what's happening, and, and that sort of thing. So, Carla says, I'm sure the whole family knew when she got out prison she was not to be around children. I would hope so. And that's another thing, like little Audrey Cunningham, who had the guy that was babysitting for her, and they had no idea that he was an SO. You know, because sometimes people don't know, and you can only help it if you know. But we do know that Katie herself knew. So I mean, at the very least, there's that. It doesn't make me feel good to report on that. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. But she knew. The point is she knew, and still made the call to be like, hey, I'm going to leave Sebastian here instead of taking him to eat with my dad, kind of a thing. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says that the issue is that children typically mirror their parents' guardians' behaviors, which makes KP capable of the same type of behavior, in my opinion. Well, and it's just very questionable. Thank you for that, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Yeah, I agree. And I also just think that it's just questionable. It's questionable behavior knowing what she knows, right? Because again, if it was something that was hidden and she didn't know at the time and it was like, oh my gosh, then it would have been different. But yeah, I agree. I agree, Holly and Polly. Um, Looking at a rough court, that's true, cuckoo cuckoo. James Cooper says, what would CP all do to protect KP? Would you do anything for her? Would you do time if she done the crime? Man, those are all good questions, James. Those are all good questions. Would you make sure that someone would never be found? I thought about that. It's weird that you say that because I did think about that question today. Like, what would he? How far? Right? Because I was listening back. You know, I mean, he always says, come after me. Don't go after Katie. Which I mean, that's a manly move. I get that, right? That's something guys would do or say. In my opinion. But it does beg the question, how far? Um, you know, because arguably she, hypothetically, if they are involved, I mean, did he get involved after the fact? I mean, because he's saying he wasn't home since, the beginning of February. That's what he's always maintained. Um, Southern Soul True Crime says, I would have pressed charges and took my kid. Well, and sometimes it's not that easy or cut and dry. You know what I mean? It's very difficult in that situation. And especially to a lot of times when you're reporting things, and I hate to say it like this, but a lot of times when you're reporting things, especially in family court, they look at the other parent as being vindictive when they bring things up. So the more third party witnesses and even reporting that's done, the better, because it's not coming from either parent and it doesn't look vindictive. Because that's one thing that is very hard. Obviously, we know that, and I'm sure, Nina could tell you what she's been through with Chris in the family courts. It's probably been, a nightmare. An absolute nightmare, bringing her in for this, for that, da 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 da, this, that, and the other, constantly. But when you do that, you run the risk of looking vindictive and like you're just trying to get the other parent for whatever you can. And the courts don't typically like that, and you can never underestimate how manipulative people can be as well. And honestly, since we're talking about the subject, there is a little bit of a difference, right? When we look at a male pedo versus a female pedo, and it could have been very easily downplayed, in my opinion. So there's that. And that's just, I mean, I didn't make those rules up, or I don't, those social norms or whatever, but that's just how society is, you can't take any chances at all. Southern Soul True Crime says, yeah, you can't take any chances at all with the predators. Absolutely. Hey, Reach for the Sky. Good to see you. Thank you. Hey, Jude. Yeah, guys. Here is Seth's Cash App too. If you guys want to help out, anything, that's there. And we got it linked on the bottom. Sorry, I can't leave comments up. I have to take them down and then I have to scroll through. They changed it a little bit, but at least they put timestamps up because, hey, Flowery, good to see you. Because now I know how behind I'm always in the chat. You didn't seem to see the, a thing wrong with it. Very bizarre. Well, and that's the thing. Some people just don't, especially when it's their family members, you know? Hey, kind Kim. They just don't see it, and that's the wrong idea, because it's like it doesn't matter who it is. If the judge says no and they've been charged and everything like that, you just can't take it. You can't take a chance. Hey, Donna. Hey, Rob Beanie. Some people are just sick. I agree. I agree. Meg says, I think my opinion we're thinking too hard and how to cover it up. Very possible. Hey, Flowery says, that's true. CP's history too has essay allegations, birds of a feather, mother and daughter, a father married his daughter, KP is siblings, allegation rumors. They have no natural boundaries. That's a really good point. That is a really good point. And then the control aspect and the secrecy thing, and, yeah, absolutely. Brenda says, can anyone say that what state they are in so Seth can see how far Sebastian's army spread? We'll start with Missouri. Thank you, Brenda. That's lovely. Nebraska, Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Missouri again. Nice, Kelly. Sasha. I know. I'm surprised they haven't been pulled in by their superiors, Sasha. I really have been. Ohio with Robini. Tennessee. Oh, you guys, that's so beautiful. Thank you. Australia, Pamela Roberts. Kentucky, Deborah. Aw. You guys. You guys are amazing. I love that. Thank you. Hey, Jude. South Carolina, Deep Holler. Well, we will always say his name. Thank you, Megs. Thank you so much. You guys. Yeah. Perfect boy mom. I love it when people say that. Like, I don't give a rat's patoo. I say I don't give a rat's patoo, but perfect boy mom says I wouldn't give a rat's ass what the judge ruled. I wouldn't allow my child around her, even if she was allowed around children. Well, and that's such a good point. Yeah, with those type of charges and allegations, our job as parents is to protect. Yes, absolutely. And, that's such a good point, because sometimes these people get like lesser charges, right? And sometimes the penalties are like nowhere near as strict as they need to be. Like, maybe just lock them up and never let them out. How's that? That would be way better. But I agree with that 100%, because, especially if you know that somebody did that to you when you were little, you kind of don't want them to do that to anybody. I am too bare, beware bitches. They're out there. They're out there. Oh my goodness, you guys crack me up over here. Hey, Adam Forever 21, good to see you. Good to see you. You guys have such good comments. Hey, Michelle Scott, good to see you. Oh, of course I will. I agree. I think Seth is a great dad too. Yes, and Sebastian needs to come home. Justice. Thank you, Michelle. That's so sweet of you. Thank you, thank you. Oh, wow. Oh, well, Microdot. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I agree. Well, and that's the thing, if we don't give anybody like a shot at redeeming themselves ever, right? I agree with what you said about your friend, and, and they did their time. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, and and that's the thing. We got to give grace to people. I mean, it's not even, um, at that point, it's like you got to let everything work itself out, especially if they already served their time, and you have to give them a chance to do better. We can't just hold it over somebody's head. Oh, thank you, Samantha. Samantha is in Arizona. Wow. I'm very worried about Faith too, Holly S. I really am. I really am. Especially with just all the hate coming out lately. Oh, Donna's in Canada. Aaron, Blair in California. Wow, how cool. Oh, Utah, Ivana, thank you. Florida, blessed. Kansas, debutante. That's amazing, you guys. Canada, hey, Canadian True Crime Channel, or Canadian True Crime 2024. Yay. Oh, Michelle's Missouri. Indiana, hey, Jersey lady. That's so sweet. I love this, you guys. Is it Lili C, Lily C, Missouri, Iowa, James? You guys. It's so awesome. Texas, Holly. Oh my goodness, you guys. That's so amazing. North Carolina. Oh my goodness. Good to see you, Suzanne. Hey, Devil's Queen, OC, California. Ooh, you live in the OC. Oh, goodness. Hey, Jude, isn't that the truth? Hey, Jude says, because of Seth R. Rogers, Sebastian's father, Sebastian has friends everywhere. That is so true. All over, guys. I mean, it just goes to show here. I'm a proud crazy boy mom. I'm a perfectly imperfect boy mom says. That's so funny. If my kids are going around anyone, I'm going to know who they are. The world is too crazy not to be an overbearing and overprotective parent. That is so true. I mean, just anyone. It's like, it's so, and it's not crazy. They're the crazy ones. They're the crazy ones that are making us have to be extra crazy because we're in hypervigilant mode, because we're like, don't even think about, hitting my kid, hurting my kid, any of that kind of stuff, Yeah, it's just crazy. Aw, thanks, I am too bear. If you print up another flyer and ask, they will put it back up for you. They rotate their pictures out. Yeah, they do. They do that. And then also, like, when I was at Walmart and I asked them, they said they put it up in their break room because they said they do, just kind of cycle through all of the missing posters and stuff. And I was like, well, hey, do you mind putting it in your break room? You know. Yeah, it is sick. I just wish they would get stiffer penalties. I just think that would help a lot, you know. I'm glad he was up there for 2 months too, though. But yeah, I wonder if you just go back up there. I see the comment. Sorry, I had to go back. They might put it back up there if you ask. Um, Aw. Perfectly imperfect boy mom. That's so true. If I've learned anything from Sebastian, it's not to trust anyone with my kids. Yeah, and you kind of hear about like mean babysitters and things like that. I mean, I know. Aaron says, personally, I would have gave Seth full custody. Katie could have had supervised visit. That's it. If I was a judge and a lawyer. Well, and Aaron, I really don't think that things with Katie were at that point. I don't think. In terms of kind of like a shift and a changeover with Sebastian, you know what I mean? Because again, you might think, okay, somebody had a really bad judgment call, you know, and you try to kind of, because nobody wants to take the kids away from each other. I mean, so I can kind of see it from both ways, you know, and I think it's a good dad that doesn't want to do that kind of stuff or play with the courts, kind of like Chris does, you know. No, it's not a good look. No, and I don't believe they can either, Brenda. An SO can't be rehabilitated, in my opinion. No, and there's been a lot of, you know, research and studies on that. You know, it just never gets to the point where they're not sick like that, no matter what happens, you know, no matter how much trouble they get into, no matter how much therapies they have, no matter how much any of that. Um, it is grotesque. It is. Um, oh, thanks, Max. Yes. No, predators cannot be rehabilitated. They cannot. No, I agree. Southern true crimes. Aw, Michelle Scott says, "Hey Jude, that's very true. Friends worldwide." Oh, Nevada, Flowery, thank you. Aw, thank you, Samantha. Mm. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, "Isn't that the truth? Hey Jude, even my kids have talked about how they want to meet Sebastian when he comes home." Oh, that is so sweet. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Oh my goodness. You know, it's amazing what kids come up with, you know, when you tell them about things, you know, like if you say, "Hey, there's someone that's missing as a child," you know, another kid. Um, it's just really sweet some of the things they come up with, you know. And the way you know, the way that they show compassion. It's so cute. Oh, thank you, Hey Jude, for gifting a membership. Oh, thank you so much. Aw. If you got a membership, please thank Hey Jude for that. Aw, I'm sorry, and I might even be seeing that late. Oh, thank you. And welcome to the Dragon Tribe. And it's a challenge. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Yeah, show poodles. That's true, though. You know, yeah, it was different. She says, "I grew up in the 70s. We were not allowed to spend the night anywhere, nor were we babysat by anyone." Yeah, and you know, you at least go meet the parents and stuff like that, you know, at least. But even, you know, when they're little and stuff, yeah, I never, unless it was like my parents or something, you know, that was different. But yeah, I agree with that, you know, because you just never know. And it's sad that it's just really sad. Show poodle, yeah. Hey Jude says show poodles, it's such a challenge nowadays. It is, you know. Show poodle said parents said we would understand when we were adults. I appreciate once I grew up. Yeah, absolutely. You do appreciate those kinds of things. Um, you know, it keeps you safe, and like you said, you know, I mean, you never know. That's another thing to kind of consider, I guess. And I didn't think about it, I guess, real deeply until just now. But I mean, like, even if you send the kids over, what if there's like a person that comes over that you don't know, you know, and they're around your kiddo? I mean, that's scary. It's like, yeah. And Meg says, in my opinion, CP wanted Seth to take Sebastian. Seth was 100% for it, but CP needed KP to get on board. I think KP was one of those, if I can't have him, you can't either. I still think they set him somewhere. Well, and you know, that's interesting, Megs, because we were talking about the documentary, the program that you had recommended, and I went and watched it. It was really, really good. But you know, at those schools, some of them don't care as long as you spend the money. Like they will come and take the kids away in the middle of the night and take them to a place where, you know, out of in the middle of nowhere, some of these facilities are. Really great documentary, guys. I think it was a 3-part, but it kind of put it into perspective in terms of that could have been an option. You know what I mean? So Yeah, I don't discount that, especially especially after watching that, I have to admit, because, for a while there, it wasn't as heavily on my radar, right? But it's like when you watch something like that and you realize that these places will take kids in and, they're not the best places, like the one that Seth researched. That one was the one up in Gallatin. The name escapes me at the moment, but um yeah, that's so true, show poodles. That's such a good point. Yeah, I'm sure back then moms didn't have to work, so it was easier. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a lot different, right? Um and yeah, that is so true. Alley cat, that's for sure. Adults should learn from these children, in my opinion. That is so true. Sasha says, "Well, I don't know what else to do." I know, Sasha. It's frustrating, and it's honestly it's infuriating. Lainey says, "My son too. He's 7. He'll be 8 in a week." Oh, well, happy birthday to him. How cute, 8. And he's autistic and so similar to Sebastian. He tells me all the time how he just hopes we find him soon. Oh, how sweet of him. Oh my goodness. See, and that's just aw, that is so sweet. And the level of compassion, out of the mouths of babes. Um I know, Sasha. It feels that way, doesn't it? It's like, what are they doing? Yeah. And I know they're probably looking to, um, probably waiting to see what kind of charges they can come up with. I think. I don't know. I think it'd be like the lesser of. I don't know. I don't know what they're waiting for. Susan says, "A lady freedom. I'm going to go talk to the manager and print a flyer out and see if he will put it back up." Yeah, I'll even go to the other town near me. That's so cool, Susan. Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, you never know because you know, if you print them out, then they don't have to use their printer and stuff, and they'll just put it up. So that's a great idea. Yeah, and I know there's like a lot of neighborhood markets and different things like that. And like I said, they used to, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to go check at the Walmart over by me, if they have, you know, like the bulletin boards still, because they used to have them where they would post like all of the recalls, like on the baby stuff, right? Because I would always go over there and check that kind of stuff. Um, so I wonder if they still have like the actual physical bulletin boards. I know a lot of gas stations do because I did that. I did post them in gas stations, the flyers and stuff. Um, Samantha says, "My niece has autism, so my son took Sebastian's case and said he needs to be with his dad and that he misses him, so I have to do my part." Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's how I feel, I think that's really well said. I think that he just needs to be found. That's the most important thing. We just need to focus on that. Focus on whatever theories we can come up with. We can hypothesize. We can, go over this and say, well, this little detail here. And honestly, even since the year mark, we've had a lot of different interviews, a lot of different points of view. So, um, you know, yeah. Well, that's not a bad thing, show poodles, because we see that it's always like the people that we that people know, right? That have the access. So that's smart. I think that's very smart. And Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, "One of my sons 13, and it amazes me how some parents just let their kids come over whenever, even shooting me a text at." Yeah, at the least. Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, because you also see a lot of kids where, like, it'll be dinner time and the parents haven't even tried to get a hold of them, or, now with the cell phones and stuff like that, texting and things like that. So, It's very different. And it's weird how we're more connected technologically, than we really it seems like we were more connected before we had all the technology. Well, I'll just put it that way, because even so, if I rode, say, and this is when I'm like 12, you know, years old, 13 years old, if I say I rode my bike, down to my friend's house, I would have to call my mom when I got there, and be like, hey, I made it down to, my friend Jenny's house, or, I made it down to Melissa's, or I made it down to whoever. And so, but yeah, it seems like there's still just a major disconnect. Yeah, Lainey, you will really like the documentary. She said, I just told my hubby we need to watch that documentary. I want to see what perspective I get from it. It's very, I would love to hear it. It's very interesting, because, it's, it's being told by a young lady and the group of people that endured the school, them going back to this abandoned school and pulling all the records. So it's really, and it was very well done. It was like, one of those documentaries where you start watching and it's very interesting, and before you know it, you're already on the second episode. So I think that you'll like it. And it's just like, like Meg was saying, when she recommended it, and this was a few lives back now, but she's like, no, think about it, no shoes, you know, no trace, things like that, and the lengths that these people will go to. But yeah, definitely called The Program on Netflix. It was really, really, really good. Um, yeah, Aaron, I don't think it would hurt, and it was all based in you know, it was all based on the teachings from, you know, the Utah and the kind of Mormon type of, influence, if you will, and some kind of more. Well, I'll just say definitely go watch it, and maybe we can even do like a deep dive into the schools if you guys want to, um, on here, because I mean it is a topic that is interesting, and that hasn't been taken off the table, to my knowledge. So I mean, it really couldn't hurt anything to kind of get ideas, um, and of course I'm familiar with Paris Hilton's story, and um, the parents thought they were doing the right thing. Thank you so much, Megan Els. Yes. So the parents were very much brainwashed into thinking that this program was going to turn their child into, like a model child, if you will, where, they thought they were doing the right thing. And the schools don't have any problem with the secrecy because the schools are very corrupt and awful, and all they care about is getting the money for the kids. There was even evidence of bonuses being given out, the longer the kids stayed, things like that. A lot of these kids didn't get an education, a proper education, because that's not what, it wasn't going to benefit anybody or the school. And so that, the children, a lot of them didn't graduate with anything, but they graduated from the program, but they didn't graduate with any type of a diploma from high school or even homeschooling or anything. Very well done, like I said, and really eye opening. Yeah, really. It was a great recommendation from Megan Els. So, um, perfect boy mom says, like, you have no idea who I am, ma'am. Debutante says, I don't think that the people at those facilities would be willing to go to jail for harboring someone that's missing, though, unless it was somewhere like out of the country. Well, that's what's so interesting about this documentary is it's like they make a deal with the parents. And so like, as long as they're getting paid to keep the kids there, they're not going to say anything because they're being so secretive. And I know debutante because I felt like that too until I watched this, even having known, Paris Hilton's story. And, of course, they could probably afford much, much more than, anybody, being the heirs of, Hilton dynasty and whatnot. But yeah, it's something to consider. And then also, there was a lot of very, V practices, right? Like, mistreatment of children. There was a lot, and it was all documented. And I mean, they found tons of like video footage of these children being, in my opinion, assaulted, physically, and they were calling it, like discipline and stuff like that. They'd have to sit in rooms. I mean, it was, and I hate speculating to that point. But it was just something that I really was like, well, I can't overlook this, once I watched it. Um, and Devil's Queen says, in my opinion, Katie can allow Sebastian around a woman, and a child beater tells me she would have no problem putting him around her RSO mother, 100%. And I mean, I can kind of see why you would come to that conclusion. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Um, Yeah, I am too, Bear. My kids have had several friends like that. I have become a mom of many. Oh, that's sweet. I am too, Bear. Aw. Maybe Sebastian is listed under a different last name, just thinking outside of the box. That's a really good point, Erin. And that's kind of where my mind started going, right? I started going down that rabbit hole and thinking, well, what if they did change up his ID or something? You know what I mean? Like, maybe, you know, they changed his name, and the way that they take the kids in the middle of the night to where the child is, very, um I mean, and obviously if they bring you to another state, you're going to be completely out of your element. You're not going to know, what's going on. But that's kind of like how these schools were, and they were all affiliated with the same kind of, like I said, the teachings and affiliations with certain individuals, out in Utah. So I mean, but there was facilities all over, even as far as Mexico. um, and then they shut one of the facilities down and combined it with the other one, and that's how. But it's all the people who attended, these schools. It's their, accounts of, and then they also found these records, so they have like the proof of it. And these poor children were like taking it to their folks and being like, hey, look, I know they told you that I didn't, pass my rug test, but I did, and here's the proof that when I came into this facility, I didn't have rugs in my system. And I mean, it really hurt the individuals who were now adults, but what they had to endure when they were children. And it tells, how long they were in the facility, if they finished out the program, and if they didn't. You'll be blown away by the tactics and the mind control. And I mean, and even like Meg said, the parents thought that they were doing the right thing by their kids. So they were brainwashed to think like, this is gonna help your family. This is the only thing that can help your family. And if you don't do it, then your children are gonna be, in harm's way. So just really, really, just something to consider, right? Not to get too tinfoil hat out, like I said, but it is something to consider. Um, it does. Brenda says it takes a long time to build a circumstantial case. Knowing and proving it in court of law without reasonable doubt is difficult without having Sebastian. I agree. I agree. And I think that's a major part of what's holding everything up. If I could take a wild guess. Um, yeah, the TBI, has Brandon Carter that's supposed to be working on it, nonstop. Um, Oh, Michelle Scott says somewhere in Missouri there is a wilderness camp, other like places. I had no idea. There needs to be a sign that would encompass those. There is no sign here in Missouri, not far from Tennessee, in my opinion. Yeah, well, and it's like they're a lot of them are in secluded places, which that's another thing, Michelle, too, that is like kind of worrisome, because like you wouldn't really know that that's what's there, so, and like the one that in the program had like a raging river, and the kids would like think about how they would escape and stuff, and then they'd be like, no, you'll never make it across. Like oh gosh, guys, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a really good doc. You guys will like it. Oh, thank you, Mally Cat. Oh, thanks, Mally Cat, for gifting a Lady Freedom membership. And if you got a membership from Mally Cat, please say thank you. How sweet. Thank you so much. And welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Let's see. And Suzanne says, do they know who made the threat to the judge yet? To my knowledge, I think it was like people were calling in or something like that, which I thought that was, pretty. But, I will say that the judge, in my opinion, from what I heard, right, he's the one that brought his personal life into his decision, and you're not. I mean, that's really kind of against. I don't want to go so far as to call it an ethics violation, but it probably could be considered an ethics violation. Um, you're supposed to be unbiased. That's why I would make a horrible juror, because I think and I feel, and I base it on my previous experiences, I would be a terrible juror. And I'd be, all I have to do is go the first day and say, I'm biased. Hello, my name's Bias. Nice to meet you. Because I am, I do. I know that I look at things with that lens. I look at things with a more emotional lens. And I guess they call that empath or whatever. But that's just kind of how I do things, and so I know that I would probably put my personal experience into it, and that's what that judge did. And honestly, when he did that, that should have been the reason for him to recuse himself, in my opinion, is because his opinion was bias. Microdot says, KP said Sebastian liked to hide behind walls and jump out at her. Maybe they told him he was going to go away and hide from Seth. Going to be a secret, can't tell anyone. Well, the conversation at the Roadhouse was kind of bizarre, in my opinion, kind of the way that Katie was doing with her fork, and, you're going to do this, and, kind of going like that. It was like she was telling Sebastian something in a more stern kind of a way, in my opinion. So yeah, that, I mean, it could be possible. That's very possible, Microdot. Yeah. Most definitely. Someone mentioned reservations. Does anyone know if that's something anyone has investigated? Sebastian maybe being at a reservation, or even an Amish community. We talked about that a little bit perfectly in Perfect Boy Mom. And, those are other very secretive type places, right? Where they kind of live by their own rules, right? Reservations, definitely. And then, the Amish communities, they're kind of exempt from certain things, right? In the English, they would call us the English, right? Amish would. And then with reservations and things like that, there's separation there because of, old history, right? But I mean, it's very possible, and we've kind of talked a little bit about it here. So I mean, that's a great question, because they're more, self-governed, I think is the word that I was looking for, self-governed. So yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, yeah, it is absolutely gross, Michelle. Oh, thanks, thanks, Hey Jude. I know it's hard to get revved up, you know. Hey Mally, thank you so much, Mally Cat. I pray that Sebastian gets his son, or that Seth gets his son back. I do too, Suzanne. I do too. Where is our CIA and mercenaries? We used to have that, went to go and got our kids, in my opinion. That is a really good point. Um, that is a really good point. I don't know. I don't know why there are so many missing kids out there, you know, in Tennessee or anywhere, you know. Um, I don't know. I don't know why there's not more urgency. I don't know why this, you know, craziness is allowed to go on. You know what I mean? Um, thanks, Meow. Thank you, Hey Jude. You guys are awesome. Oh, Brenda. Well, great. Linda and Brenda. That's wonderful, Brenda. Aw. Make some coffee, Sasha. We love you. make some make some coffee. I know it's hard. You know, and I know. And then when we get down these rabbit holes, it's hard. It's, um who was I watching the other day? Poor Justin. I think it was Justin. He says, I gotta go take some blood pressure pills. I keep my I keep my Tums right next to me because it's like, it's enough to make you sick. Half of this stuff. I mean, especially when you're having to listen to some of these people. Um, that's such a great point too. I am too Bear, but but programs like that also breed resentment and distrust for the parents. Absolutely, because even in the documentary, the daughter, she was upset with her dad, and she was like, "Look, I'm gonna not talk to you for 15 months and show you how horrible my time was in there, so you can really get a good idea of like how long 15 months really was." But they, you know, he wasn't a bad dad. He was really brainwashed. He thought, and then there was an evil stepmother involved. Imagine that. Um, where she wanted rid of this young woman out of their house. So you're very right. And and I think one of the saddest parts of one of the letters that they were sharing was that, the daughter was like, why don't you want me at home? Like, why don't you want me there with you? How could, I miss our family vacations, and these kids pleading for them to let me come home. Um, I mean, it's really tough. And Debutante says, what I'm wondering, though, Lady Freedoms, is what these kids is was were these kids missing, like with an Amber Alert? Oh no, gosh, no. That's a good point, Debutante. You're right. On the show, because now that the FBI TBI is involved, you would think that that's different. That is a great point. Yeah, and I understand what you're saying completely. Yeah, so none of these kids were, it's not like the parents would report them missing or anything. They knew where they were exactly. And they didn't have an active alert. They did not have FBI, or in Tennessee's case, TBI, right, involved. It wasn't like a big, large scale search or anything like that. Um, so you're absolutely right, because that does heighten the stakes, doesn't it? And then this large reward, the $50,000 from the FBI, and then the other large reward, 447,000 from Dog and his team at Night. So that is true. I mean, that's something that we need to consider here, because, that would kind of show to the contrary that, that theory wouldn't work, because somebody would come forward, especially for that kind of money. Think of the workers and things like that. So I hear what you're saying, Debbie Chan. That's so true, you know. Yeah, it is so frustrating, guys. No, I appreciate it. We got to rein each other in, though. That's a good thing. We got to rein each other in. We can't be. We have to. We have to be the voice of reason for each other sometimes, you know. So, yeah, cited Birchfield and Birchfield. Yeah, Haley's Law, 100%. Yes, 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 Sasha. Why wasn't Mama Sock's church friends in court supporting her, in my opinion? That's a good question, Show Poodles. That's a good question. And I don't know who most of these people are. I have to be honest with you. The rest of the people behind in the pews, like the only ones that I could really name off, you know, and even recognizing, you know, Melly Foot with her purple hair, I didn't at first, you know. Um, Oh my gosh, right? I am too, Bear. That's so true. I'd be horrified if my parents had me kidnapped at night. What a betrayal. Yeah, and like these kids don't even see it coming. They're just laying in bed and all of a sudden these people just come and they do talk about kind of that process too of like how they have these people that specifically will come and take your kid. Like they call. Oh my gosh, it's wild. You guys gotta watch it. But they like call these companies and they're like, yeah, you know, like I have my kid, they're really unruly, but I don't know if I could drop them off. And they're like, oh no, we'll have somebody come pick them up for you. And it's very secretive, very bizarre. But like again, debutante, she kind of reined me back in a little bit. She's like, but what about the active Amber Alert? What about all of this media attention? What about everything? You know, everybody knowing Sebastian's story, the rewards, you know, so it all, but totally betrayal, a total betrayal, you know. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Gypsy Doll. Good to see you, hon. Aw, so glad you guys are all here. But yeah, so it's just something to consider. You know what I mean? Because it was a consideration previously before Sebastian went missing. But it'd be a hell of a, you know, a twist, right? It would be a hell of a, I guess it would make more sense to me why Chris and Katie don't seem to care, right? Because like the other alternative would be like because they had something to do with it, in my opinion. So the other alternative and the more maybe nicer alternative would be that they put him in a school somewhere and they do know where he is, and that's why they're not showing the concern or the urgency or taking anything seriously. I mean, you know, still laughing. You know, they are still laughing. You know, Katie's still hiding, you know. You know, that's a good point, Brenda. I'd like to know how statistically Tennessee ranks nationally in missing children. Oh, and poop. Of course, they kicked me off. That's a good question. Debbie Chan says, I don't think Amber Alerts were a thing back then. It happened in the 90s, I believe. Oh, just with any of it right now, you know, Amish are very private, meow. They really are. There was even that story in Missouri where there was very bad things happening to one of the sisters by the brothers in the Amish community, and even, you know, I mean, they said it right on the news. They were like, oh, well, those boys are going to get eaten alive in prison. We might as well just give them back to their families and let them handle them. And that was what they were saying, you know, at the courthouse. That was the prosecutor that said that. And it was just really disheartening because, but they kind of have like their own law and you know, just something to consider again, you know. So. I am T Bear says I live by 3 reservations. Feds can enforce them. Can enforce them up there, not just not local cops. So thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate that. feds can enforce. Yeah, because it's federal government can come in, but the local cops can't. Like I remember watching old cops episodes where, people would try to evade the police officers and get to the reservation as quick as they could, and the cops would be like, "Dang it, if they get there, we lose jurisdiction," or that sort of thing. So yeah, that's a great point. Oh, one of the creators cited that it is more per capita than anywhere else in the country. Wow, show poodles, that is interesting. Hmm. And it just makes you wonder. Yeah, I remember that. Edgar telling Seth if he wants to find Sebastian, go to church. Yeah. This case is worse than a simmer. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I know about rabbit holes. Halia says me too. Oh my goodness. Um Well, Sasha, and that is one thing too. Maybe he's being hidden until he's 18. Um, you know, eh, with this certain kind of program thing, they were keeping kids beyond that age, um, until they saw fit um, to let them out. Chopoodle says, check the case of Gary Paolucci. Did I say that right? It's in 1984. I remember it well. It happened in my home state. Okay, Gary Paolucci, 1984. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, definitely. And Gypsy Doll says, Sasha, even if he's hidden till then, whoever is responsible is still in a lot of hot water. Oh, absolutely, Gypsy Doll, for sure. For sure. I mean, could you imagine if they just, if they pop off with, oh my goodness, I'll tell you what. I mean, they're gonna have they're gonna have public outrage. Um, but it would explain a lot. It was terrible, Holly. Yeah. I can Google teen behavior health camp or facility, and their stories are just so bad or just so sad. Yeah, absolutely. Just Googling the teen behavior health camps. Yeah, or just facilities and things like that. It's crazy. And they mask it in a way, and they frame it out in a way that it's going to like help, and basically that's the only hope you have, and all this nonsense. Oh, Philly Easter eggs. That's so fun. Southern Soul True Crimes. That's so awesome. Oh, yeah. Easter's coming up. I don't know if you guys have any plans for Easter. Hey, Miss Pris. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, Lady Freedom, there was a case of a girl reported missing in Georgia, and she ran away and ended in state custody in Tennessee for a year before they realized she was a missing child. What? Oh my gosh. See, crazier things have happened, and there's cracks all over the system, and there's always wild stories and the way life works. And wow, that is so crazy. Well, that's definitely something to consider. Absolutely. Meg says, my thing is I can't get info on Sebastian anywhere other than online. What if he's in a different country in a behavioral facility? Well, and that's a great point. Um, it is traumatizing, Holly. Yes, it is. Um, that's a good point. And they had them all over. I can't remember. Do you remember, Meg, if like how many facilities, because there were several, and I do remember the one in like either, was it Mexico? Oh gosh, now I'm going to show my geographical deficit here. um but wasn't there facilities like that were connected to the program like all over, like, I mean, wasn't there one in like Chile or something? This is horrible. I'm probably saying it so wrong. Hard to believe that happens in our country. It is so hard to believe, Holly. It is. It is. Showpoodle says, yes, Gary has passed away. I saw an interview he did shortly before he passed. His son has also done a few interviews through the years. Sad. I am glad Gary did not face any time. Oh, okay. Oh. Those bags, what was the situation? Holly S. says, in my opinion, the feet didn't care enough for that, even though I wish it were true. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I kind of go, like I said, I go back and forth with it too, because it's hard. It's just hard. It's like, you know, they were talking about it, so did they? But then again, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I believe it or not, and I don't know if I believe that it could be possible, you know, a strong possibility or not. But you know, it is one of those rabbit holes again, you know, that possibly. Yeah, see, I'm a show me person too, Holly S. I need to see it, you know, and then I'll be like, okay, now, you know. So I understand that. In my opinion, they don't act like he's missing. That's so true, Mag. In my opinion too, they don't act like he's missing. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. So, Asada Amun, I hope I said that right. Asada Amun was running from her dad who was mistreating her. And, okay, and you emailed me the clip. Okay, perfectly. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so behind. Even when I started going through emails again, I got behind and I was like, dang it. Hey, Cajun Juju, good to see you. Have you watched the video of CNY family did on the Bowerstocks Church? No, I haven't. I have not, but I like CNY family. Yeah, I like her a lot. She has a lot of good stuff to say. Hey, Lisa B. Always. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Lisa B. Always has been in the bushes. Wouldn't it just be easier to have Sebastian Rogers magically reappear than go through all this? Absolutely. Absolutely. That is such a great point. So thank you for coming out of the bushes and letting us know. Because, yeah, that is so true. I mean, that's another great point to the contrary, right? So you would think that after, you know, even, I mean, I don't know. I would like to think that the minute that they called in dog, they would have called off the whole deal, right? Let's call the whole thing off. Potato, right? And it would have been over with. But we just don't see that happening here. Um, yeah, Gypsy agrees with Lisa B. Always. Yeah. Yeah, FBI and Bureau of Indian Affairs would never let missing child go unnoticed, in my opinion. That is very true. That is very, very true. All of these agencies involved, and we also can't forget Secret Service was involved in the beginning, right? The CIA probably had something to do. You know, I mean, all of these agencies, right? Hey, Cooper, or hey, Copper, sorry. Or did I get it right? No, I got it right the first time. Cooper. Okay, sorry, Cooper. Sorry about that. Well, law enforcement hasn't done anything that I can see. I know, Sasha, and I know it's frustrating. I understand. I would like there to be a press conference, you know, but I just don't think that, I don't think even if Craddock wasn't willing to talk to Dateline, I don't know that he's going to be willing to talk to anybody, you know? Just my, kind of my guess, my best guess, you know? Yeah, Cajun Juju. Oh, that's definitely something interesting. And Cooper said, it's been a while since I've been up here for your live. I'll also change my name. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you so much for coming in. I know I was out for a little while. Oh, thank you, Meg. It was Mexico, Costa Rica, right? Who went to Costa Rica? Didn't the flying monkey socks go to Costa Rica? Oh Lord, see what happens. See what happens in the rabbit hole. Yeah, all over the place. Yeah, all over the place, Meg. That's what kind of blew my mind too, thinking about another, country. Then there's people, and people will say, oh, well, there's people that haven't heard about Sebastian even in his own area. Um, oh, Shopoodle says, Lady Freedom, that case was a case of vigilante justice. Oh, interesting, interesting. Oh, goodness sakes. I'm so sorry, Cooper. My gosh. I'm going to have to really go through my email. Brenda says, before Cruella made her Facebook profile private, I saw they took a few trips in 23 to 24. I wondered if that was unusual for them, or if it meant anything. That's a good question, Brenda. I know it seems like they travel often from what I saw on there. In my opinion, CP and KP keep changing their looks. Very much. And Katie changes her personality quite frequently, which is very odd, to say the least. But I agree with that comment, Cooper. Thank you. Sasha says their statements indicate he's gone, and any evidence I've seen indicates abuse, so I don't know. I have no idea where law enforcement is. I know that's so frustrating, Sasha, and I agree. There's a lot of evidence of abuse. That is undeniable. I couldn't even sit up here. I know I'm not looking at you guys because I'm having a smoke, but I couldn't even look at you with a straight face and say that there was no, there's no proof of that. There's no evidence of that. I just never could do that. And I won't, because I think that we need to talk about it. It's important. Um, and there very well could be Cooper or something in the house. Yeah, perfectly imperfect boy mom. That's my impression too, is that it seems like they travel quite frequently. Cajun Juju says the B Sox Church believes that autism is satanic possession. Oh, okay. So I have heard this, or I have heard that that concept, or that they think this, right? They have a pastor that preaches about it. They also have conversion facilities for treatment. Also, pray away the gay programs. Oh my Lord! Watch CNY video. Oh, I will. Oh my Lord. I don't understand that. To me, that is insane on any of that. Maybe they need to pray away their own crap, before they think about doing that to somebody else. Yeah, Cooper says, I think there's something in that house. Oh, Puerto Rico. Maybe it was Puerto Rico. See, geographically challenged Lady Freedom here. Thanks, Megan Else. Good Lord. Lisa B always says, allegedly, in my opinion, the neighbors haven't made their voices heard. They need to own this situation. Yeah, I agree with that too. I agree with that. I do think that they need to own the situation. I think that they need to come forward if they know anything. Absolutely. Absolutely. And stop, clustering together just to get cozied up to, the people that could have been responsible, in my opinion, allegedly. Sasha says, why would he talk to Dateline? How embarrassing. He has nothing apparently, and yet the abuse evidence. Well, I mean, he did say something different. And like I said, I'm still working on that because I want to put together a bunch of the clips together. And it's not easy to get them all together. But Craddock did change his tune on a couple of things from what he wrote in the email to Dateline. So that's going to be something that we're going to discuss. It's interesting to me, you know. Oh, that's so sweet, Lisa. Lisa says, I I'd have a chalkboard likeness of Sebastian made and posted everywhere. I would too, and I think that is something that, you know, I talked about too in the beginning, was like the green light bulbs, putting them out. Like, I don't understand why they don't have that at the house, at the Proudfoot's house, right? Or a ribbon around the tree, you know, thinking that he might come back home if they think you walked out of the house. But I would too. I would, and that's a sweet thought, you know, and I would do that too. Um, it's just so tough. It's just, that's true. God will handle it. Violence is not the answer. That's right, Sasha. Law enforcement should be required to give updates or at least dispel total BS. Amen. Amen. I am too, Bear. That is for sure. Meg says, I agree, Lisa, but imagine how CP is in real life after hearing him on YouTube. I'm not sure I'd want to be his neighbor. And narcissists do scare most people, right? Because if they've seen what they're capable of, or if they've seen them, you know, do things to other people, then they're less apt to come forward. And that's something that's interesting to talk about too. Yeah, absolutely. That is so true, Meg. It's sickening and weird. I agree, Gypsy Doll. One way to get him is to have him arrested, Lisa B. That's for sure. There is a lot of evil, Cooper, around this case, in my opinion, as well. A lot. Too much, right? To where, I mean, we need an old priest and a young priest for that, and not for people with disabilities or who, you know, have a preference. Meg says, in my opinion, he's probably had many ways to be arrested, yeah, but I think his mama gets him out of that all the time. I agree with that, Meg, because we have the flying monkey socks, we have um, the constant, you know, pull of the community that they have, and that's undeniable in my opinion, you know. And Cinderella said the youth pastor in the church, Cruella's, is a true crime YouTube creator, and nothing since Sebastian went missing. This has been very sus to me, allegedly. I agree, Cinderella, absolutely. And that is another thing that we can't really, you know, but that's undeniable. He's a YouTube creator. He covers true crime, but yet we've heard nothing about poor Sebastian. And then that's his step family's church. Very odd. And then we hear of those weird, you know, allegations of unorthodox, archaic kind of treatments, if you will. I am Two Bear says, well, the neighbors don't seem fearful of being a stranger abductor on the loose. Just saying. That is for sure. That is so true. I mean, Meg says, oh Lord, really, Cinderella? Yeah, yeah, yep. And Microdot says, but look at Michael Vaughn, though, too. His abductors live only a couple streets away, and he still has not been found. That is such a good point, Microdot. I mean, poor little Michael Monkey Vaughn, right? Still missing. There's shenanigans everywhere with this bull crap of these, I mean, complete scumbags, right? Just these bums just playing the law, in my opinion. And where's Michael? You know? And if you want to see a mother grieving a child and what a mother's handbook should look like, look at Brandy Vaughn, please. Because I give her the utmost respect and love. And I pray for her all the time. All the time. That she will find Monkey, that she will find him. And then those monsters will be put behind bars. Absolutely, Cinderella. Thank you for doing that too. We have to turn everything in. And, you know, if you see a sighting of Sebastian, turn it in. If you hear anything, if you see a post that's bizarre, anything like that, turn all of that stuff in, you know, and turn it into everyone you can, you know. You can blind copy people on an email, which is the BCC, or you could CC somebody, which is just copying them on it. get the word out to law enforcement, definitely, especially a sighting. Take a picture, ask, go so far as to even ask, are you Sebastian? Um, CP reminds me of Brian Laundrie for sure, Aaron. Totally, and then you get the quiet, everybody's hush hush vibe, the laundry vibe, definitely. Um, and Lisa B always says, just imagine everyone at Worsham's putting a chalkboard mask of Sebastian on when the feet walk in the door, get gas, etc., seeing Sebastian's face all the time. That is a great idea. I mean, we all know how they're reacting to the billboards. So put the pressure on. I agree. Put the pressure on. The more pressure over time, I mean, that's how we make a diamond, right? Pressure over time. Sasha says we do have MMA though, and plenty of room for a ring. Oh no, just watch. Oh Lord. Oh, it feels like a B movie. Yeah, for sure. For sure, Gypsy Doll. Love that idea, Lisa B. Brenda says. And Cinderella says, I really think that about to turn around for Michael. I hope so. I think that there's got to come a turning point in that case as well. So I agree with you. I agree. I really think it's about to turn around for Michael, she says. Thanks, Cinderella. Yeah, Meg says, Lisa girl, if I thought the new billboards were triggering for CP, that would definitely do it. I agree. It's a great idea. They're big mad over the billboards, Gypsy Doll. Yes, they are. Hey, Ann Reynolds, good to see you. Aw, I'm grateful that you came in. I know, and we're running about almost 3.5 hours, so I'm probably going to call it a night here soon. But you guys have had such great conversation tonight. Cajun Juju says I have turned in my suspicions about the church facilities. I did receive an acknowledgement that my email was received, but I don't know if it was taken seriously. Well, thank you for doing that, Cajun Juju. And I know it's so hard that we don't know, right? It is tough, because I know that they're probably not going to respond, unless they need more information. So yeah, I can understand that completely. And Cinderella says, I was just thinking that I'd love to be able to do that and protest the sheriff's office or CPS. Yeah, I think that CPS is definitely another one that deserves to have some heat put and some pressure put, because um, it's only when something horrible happens that we hear about things like this, and then it was only when Seth went to retrieve these records that something was done. But think about if he never had went to retrieve those records, there would still be that same social worker out on the streets that got fired, overseeing other children's cases. I mean, really puts it into perspective. Um, you know, it's all downhill, Sasha says. Bad actors. Hey, Butter Biscuit. Hey. Taking a break. Yeah, the hate channels seem to get away with all the bullying. Butter Biscuit, I'm so glad you're here, though. Good to see you, hon. Oh, my goodness. You can buy fat heads in bulk. Just saying, I'm joking, okay? That's funny. I had to add that hashtag thing in earlier, guys, just to make you guys laugh, because I know it's got to be frustrating to watch that stuff. Um, that's so funny. Cinderella, or Cajun Juju says to Cinderella, do you follow the Scientology protests? Oh, the Scientologist people are pretty crazy too. It kind of reminded me of that in the program, that kind of deep-seated, and again, what you guys are talking about with the possessions and things like that, do they have an arrow pointing to the house, Max says to Gypsy? Just imagine. Lisa B always says, just imagine, mask up when people see the feet or socks enter a business. Oh my gosh, everybody just. Oh my goodness. We'll have to end with that one. That is a good one. Oh my goodness. I mean, the pressure, it's the pressure. It's a fantastic idea. Anything we can do, honestly. I mean, and if they're getting upset about it, Yes, thank you, show poodles. Thank you guys all for being here. I hate not being up here. I'll tell you, it just makes my day every night my day every night. But every night that I come up here, because it's something that I look forward to. I like discussing different aspects of the case, and I think that we just have to keep on moving forward. So thank you guys so much for being so great, and all of your ideas, and everybody just showing kindness and love in the chat and everything. So yeah, Kyron Horman's mom, yeah, her group asks everyone to ask where Kyron is when they see Dee Dee and the stepmother. Yeah, when they see that Dee Dee lady. Yes. Yeah, and she does talks all the time. She's another wonderful advocate mother that is out there just pounding the pavement, door knocking, talking. She would never silence a creator for speaking about Kyron. Golly, and it's been 12 years since little Kyron's been missing out of her care. Cajun Juju says, I'm involved in an advocacy group fighting for justice for child victims of Scientology. Wow, protests are live streaming worldwide. Wow, that's really cool, Cajun Juju. All right. Okay, I didn't know about that. Good neighbors wouldn't let this perpetuate, in my opinion. I mean, they should have been calling. And that's what it takes, is those third-party call-ins. It's very difficult for another parent to do it. I'll tell you. It really is. So I throw no shade and none of that. Because, and we got to keep the focus too, and the outrage on the ones that are, perpetrating this stuff, not the people that are the victims of it, and I think that's really important to kind of, close with too. So, Debutante says, yes, I enjoy passing around ideas with everyone. We will keep brainstorming until something is discovered. This is my favorite true crime chat. Aw, Debutante, you are so sweet. I love you. Debutante's my favorite stalker. And for those of you that probably don't get the inside joke, I mean that in the most loving way because she's making me laugh the other day about that. Christina Snyder says, I think Kyron and his mom, I think of Kyron and his mom all the time. Aw, Christina, that's so sweet. It is a heartbreaking story, Brenda. It is. We'll have to talk about little Kyron here too. That was a doozy of a story. I'll tell you. Yeah. Sasha said he said Sebastian liked the playroom area. Well, they also said Sebastian loved to dance and be a part of the church and like the youth program, that he really enjoyed it, yeah. Well, thank you all. Thank you all so, so very much for being here. I love you all. Please take care. Please pray. Pray for all of these kids. We have Sebastian, we have Michael Monkey Vaughn, we have Summer Wells, Summer Moon Utah Wells. We have our friend Jana, her sister Crystal, as well. Now, her case is still, ruled that she took her own life when, in my opinion, she did not. So we have a lot of people to pray for, and then of course pray for each other in our community. Love you guys all so much, and thank you all so much for your support and love and just being kind people and good humans. So and pray for Seth. Pray for Seth too, that he's back with his son. Thank you, Meg. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Have a good night, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. I'm gonna try to catch up on those emails too, guys. Thank you all so, so, so much. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you guys. Cajun Juju, thank you. Justice for Sebastian Rogers. Thank you.